morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to Starbase Weekly, the RGV aerial deep dive into images he captured from the ground and air in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Starbase Weekly. It's episode 62. My name is Mauricio, and I'll pass this along to an Instar.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We're happy to have you here. We're excited to be here for, I think, the 62nd episode this whole year since we've started. And I will pass it over to to Thomas.
Thank you. And I don't think we had 62 episodes this whole year, but
Since we started.
Since we started, yeah, it's been ages. It's amazing to be here once again. We've got lots to go over today, so I'll go ahead and pass it over to Zach. Zach, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was doing some stuff in the background here. But hello, everyone. Sorry for missing last week. I'm glad to be here this week. And as always, as Thomas said, we got a ton of stuff to cover. So it's going to be a fun episode. Also, sorry for the delay with getting started. When these Windows updates happen, it really throws off everything. Yeah,
We blame
good
Bill
to go
Gates.
now. What was that?
We blame Bill Gates.
I swear this is like a once a month thing where you get a Windows update and then it changes the way other programs run. So yeah, a bit of some difficulties to start the morning, but I think we're all good now. So with that, like I said, we have some great stuff to show you all today. We have tons of content. Mauricio went out, I believe, 3 separate times to Massey this week because there was a lot of movement over there. So we have drone footage, ground images, aerials, and then more drone footage from this morning. So,
And that's 3 times in the last 3 days, and that's 420 ground images alone.
Massey's, and more Masseys, but not all of the Masseys. We've got other things besides Masseys.
Yeah, well, I think we might as well be able to. We can start off with that video from the first flyover, I guess. And that was the first drone flyover, and this was on Thursday. That was a question because I'm not 100%
Friday.
It should be Friday.
It was on Friday.
The flyover was Thursday. The ground photos were Friday. Sorry, and then yesterday was additional ground photos, just like this.
So yesterday was Friday.
Okay, well, let's back up then because
I'm sorry. Wow.
If I go with we're probably going to go with the aerials first, just so we can show what happened at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do that instead. I'll switch us over to those.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, he did, I should say, flyover Thursday. He did ground photos and drone video on Friday, and then he went again this morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning his time and did more. Right, Mauricio?
That is correct.
The man doesn't sleep.
Which is funny for a lot of reasons, but let's just get started off, shall we? So I would say the 2 biggest things that happened at Massey's this week are right in front of us right here. Well, they're, I guess, related to this. So first off, we have the new cryo station, which appears to be fully set up.
And working.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like they have all the pipes ran on this. Actually, I don't see all of anything related to like all the electronics.
But wouldn't that be cryo in the ground, in the dirt right there? Like frost from practicing?
They cleaned out the pipes.
Looks like they cleaned out the pipes.
Or at least one pipe.
So are these circles on these pads the new thing now? Because we see them a lot, the circles. Like it's almost like a template.
Well, so you see the outside are the pads directly, but the inside you can see. Well, the pads are basically for the hold the ship, but then the other parts right here. This is interesting because we basically have what would be equivalent to the can crusher. It has the exact same pattern in there, and it's for 3 center sea levels and then 3 vacuum raptors. So basically, you can do all of the puck shucking that you would normally do during a cryo at this location. What's interesting though is that currently the booster or the ship, sorry, that has moved over here since yesterday. We could show that here in just a little bit, but it has the engines installed already. There's no puck shucking going to be involved yet, but it is set up and prepared to do that for future vehicles.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting the way they have that. I mean, because it basically makes it so that you're not interrupting anything at the launch site for initial testing, and essentially anything that doesn't require engines can be done here. So this is going to be, I mean, it's also interesting to see them do this without needing. Well, I'm guessing it'll be done on a transport stand, right? So the transport stand will sit on top of these. I don't know what you want to call them. Mounts.
Pipe stands.
Yeah, pipe stands. So your transport stand will sit on top of this, right? And I'm guessing your SPMTs will drive in from this direction because that's the only place where there's no stand at.
So I'm sorry, you're saying that those legs right there, are those the same legs that we see later on that are all in a row that are just sitting there? Because we call those the legs for the stands. And these are already on the thing, and you're saying the stand comes and sits on them.
Yeah, so there'll be a short stand that would be probably a bit more rigid than just a normal stand because you're going to be doing full cryo with it as well. And then you would also be able to do your puck shucking and everything else, but it's really that you're able to move the SPMT, or I'm sorry, it's a pair of SPMTs, basically around these stands and lower it directly, basically the ship with the stand that it's sitting on onto these. They're kind of like pipe stands, but these are more structurally rigid than regular pipe stands. So you can basically do the hydraulic ramming in different directions at different times. You get all of those tests done without basically using a crane to lift it and all the extra stuff that you do for like pad A or B. Right now, pad A is set up with the puck shuckers and basically the hydraulic rams that would basically do the same thing as this. However, these would be much shorter. So
So the testing happens because of those 4 stands?
You
those
need
4
just
stands do the testing, or no, there's going to be another piece?
So that those just hold it in place. They just bolt it down directly to those, which are bolted down directly to the ring, and has all of the rebar underneath it's directly connected to. That's holding onto the concrete, so it's very rigid, and it's like, what was it, 4 feet of concrete for this block that we're looking at. So it's going to stay there as they do cryo and push it and pull it. But the as you said, those little 4 pieces, you'll actually have 6 total, but you do need to kind of maneuver around those with the SPMTs. Do we actually have an SPMT available here? No, we don't. But we've got the wide boy, and it's actually narrower than that. It's about the same size as a shipping container, about 108 inches. Oh, there we go. Nice.
Well done, Zach.
We can't really see the cryo stand at the same time with this, but I'm
Just
guessing.
gotta stare at that photo beforehand, though. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, and this is the furthest the ship has ever been away from its home, really.
From the launch site or the build site, eh?
Yeah, so I mean, this is as of this morning or last night, they transported this to the Massey site, and I mean, it took a short break at the build site before they brought it over here. But obviously, the next step is going to be putting it on that test stand. But it's still a little bit odd. So I'm guessing. I feel like this just has so many more. Okay, I see them down here. So they have to remove, and this is a tough angle to see this from. Maybe this one will be better. So basically, these stands that are on the bottom down here, will have to be removed, right? And then they'll sit them on top of the other pedestals, right?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So why are they on there to begin with?
So it's stabilization. You can set it down while you're moving around,
But they're
and
not good enough to do the testing with.
so those pipe stands, no. But the ones that they have directly on the concrete, yes. So they have angles and flanges on them so that you can put more torque in different directions. Where these are just literally it's a pipe with 2 plates, one on the bottom, one at the top, and then maybe like a plus sign on the interior if you're looking straight down. So it has even more rigidity for the pipe itself. But you're not really going to be able to use those for full cryo like you would with a hydraulic rams, because that torque motion is going to be critical, and you need that. Where the cryo station we saw before at the launch site, they didn't have that. They didn't need that, so they just used regular pipe stands because they can take some weight. But I think they were a little bit different on some of those stands as well. I think they used a couple of the Can Crushers pipe stands, if I remember correctly.
And forgive me real fast, Zach, that picture even this picture's fine. You have a ship stand, you have a booster stand, you have the can crusher and its stand, you have the nose cone, half of the nose cone stand, and then to the right of the nose cone, or in the front of the nose cone jail, what is that? That white thing that looks like part of the nose cone jail.
It's the top.
Yeah, let's circle. We'll get to that one in like a few minutes. Let's talk about. I have a question, Thomas. So why do you think this is coming here right now? Especially since it already has engines on it. It already has been cryo tested at the Sanchez site, at the launch site. So do you think is this just essentially for commissioning this system?
I think half of it is for commissioning. The other half is they do not have a lot of room for ships right now. So they are, looks like, about to pull ship 26 off. Like, we'll probably have it happen during the stream today. That's typically the way they run. But ship 26, it looks like it's going to be lifted and probably put on a transport and then sent down to, let's say, the build site just in front of mid-bay. That's what they did with 25. They do actually have a place to anchor it down right in front of mid-bay. But right now they do not have access to Sanchez because there's a big crane over there being built. So that area for basically holding on to a ship for a bit, it's going to be a problem. So there's 2 reasons to do it. You use 25, and you've already basically proofed 25, but you can proof it again. And you can commission the rest of the system, as you mentioned before.
So other than that, really, the reason I think this is odd is because, as far as I'm concerned, the next test that needed to happen with 25 was static fire testing. So it's just odd to me that it would come here. And even if they are using it for commissioning, I would almost expect them to have waited, a few more days with ship 26 and just brought that here instead.
Well, as you mentioned before, it doesn't even have the power for the cabling for the on the cable trays yet. So they haven't even finished building the whole setup here. It's in hiatus and will probably just be storage for a little while, and then they will actually do something with it, basically commission it. Can it maintain pressure on the system? Can it go through and load a bit of prop into the cryogenics into the vehicle? And then they'll be done. They don't really need to do much more than that, but it's going to be for storage, I think, for a bit.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. And one other thing related to that, they still haven't unearthed the actual stand that's in this footprint right here, which I find interesting. But I guess they really only need one of them to start off. But yeah, I still think it's interesting that they haven't dug that out yet.
We'll probably see that happen in a couple of weeks, but it'll probably be after the orbital test flight, I would suspect, or at least we'd start to see them dig it up, and then they'd start doing, the orbital test flight shortly thereafter. It's nothing related. It's just they have a whole production of boosters coming down the pipeline, and yes, they will need to do cryo stations, so that will be a very useful location to do it here at Massey's. And that will probably be for boosters on the right. We haven't seen or confirmed that, but it would make sense since they basically have that same setup over at the launch site. There's the cryo station for the ship, the cryo station for the booster, would make sense to do the same thing here.
Interesting. Yeah, I hope it actually is a booster, one for a booster, but I do find it, I mean, it's odd enough watching, a Starship travel vertically down that road. But a booster moving to Massey's would be a pretty interesting sight to see for sure. At least in the vertical position. And I still don't think that we'll ever see, I mean, do you think we'll ever see horizontal transport like going to KSC?
No, for ships going to KSC, it should all be vertical. Boosters the same thing. They're built vertically. They're not built horizontally. There's a reason for that. It costs way too much in weight. You have to have a whole system to basically lift it and move it into position. So you'd basically have to have a what do they call it for Falcon 9? It's a strong back. You'd have to have one of those. Actually, basically two of those, one for each ship. Or each segment.
I feel like you need a barge that has something like this on its deck. So
you just weld it down to the deck.
Weld it down to the deck, yeah, on the transport stand.
Yeah, they weld it, they bolt it. That last barge we saw come in at the port of Brownsville was Port 10 that they brought it in on. And that particular one had holes and welding points all over it. So it's nothing new for those guys.
Yeah, I was wondering if they ever end up having to replace that deck after doing all that, whatever they did to it. Because it's just like, oh yeah, if you need to drill holes or weld something down to the ground, go ahead. Is it just so simple as shaving that off, or what? No, have to. Sorry, I wonder if they ever actually have to replace that deck.
They will do regular replacements or maintenance of it. When you get to the point where you can't drill a hole because you're drilling on a hole already, that's a problem. You're gonna have to fill it in, and maybe that's something that already happens.
Right. Okay. Well, moving on a bit. So we'll show a little progression here of what happened with the nose cone jail cage. So first, during the week, and I don't have that video ready. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday. They actually took the top off. Actually, it was probably on Wednesday. They took the top off of the nose cone jail and separated it from the bottom. And a few days later, they had taken off the top ring as well. And then it looks like they actually, they shortened these. They didn't extend them. So this used to be 3 sections, actually. 3 sections tall. And so now it's 2 or 1.5 sections. And I think I have some good ground images to show this as well, too.
And isn't the other half back there on the left?
Yeah, in the back corner. Ground images, and it's probably all the way at the end, isn't it?
Murphy's Law dictates it would be.
Let's see.
We can just start at the end next time.
420 images.
I told you, 420. He hit the magic number.
I wonder if you just hit end on your keyboard to get it to the end.
Well, with the issues that I've had this morning, I'm not willing to try things like that. So
you just might end the whole program if you hit end on your keyboard.
Yeah, exactly.
End his existence in Discord.
So let's see. The top of 1 second.
But yeah, this is the bottom of the.
Yeah, this is the bottom. I was looking for the one at the top. Here we go.
So these are called structural test stands or test cells as well for people who are trying to understand why we call it a nose cone jail. It looks like a jail. You put a nose cone inside.
So you can see that they have a. I wonder, did they just cut?
No, it's bolted on.
So, I guess was this the top section, or was it
Yes.
actually 2 sections like this? Like, were there 2 short sections on top of each other? I almost need to pull up some older images just to see
They
this.
put that extra, the one where your mouse is right now, that brown, whatever, outside ring, they put that on last week. We saw it last week for the first time.
Yeah, that's the one that was sitting on the ground. I guess I'm just trying to figure out if these are actual new posts.
No, these are all the
they're
same old posts.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's just another set. I wonder if we can see them.
Yeah, these are the top. There was another piece that went on top of this that directly connected to the ship that moved it in the XY direction on the nose cone area, but it doesn't quite match with their configuration with one ring and a nose cone.
Right. Okay. So let me go back to that aerial image then. So yeah, so as Andy mentioned, they have this extra reinforcement ring around the upper third, and then they have another one down here at the bottom. And so the question now is whether or not the nose cone jail is going to move here, or sorry, the base of the nose cone jail is going to move here, or if this is going to move to the Sanchez site. But I have a feeling that it'll be the other way around, because it almost looks like it's in perfect position for the crane to just pick it up and set it somewhere else while they bring in the base structure.
Well, so quick way to look at this is that they will probably put in the nose cone directly on the far side from where we're looking. There's basically 3 pads of concrete or 4 pads of concrete. So you basically put it just right next to everything else, and then you stick this directly on top of the nose. And you might need to move this around just a little bit beforehand. One thing to note, you can actually go between this image and the image that Mauricio took today. So zoom in directly on the Crow Station area. This is something orbitally pointed out. So that pipe that's going from here over to the left that we saw that was frosted up and everything else on the left-hand side, it has been since removed for today's photo.
Yeah, so basically it looks like they just, blew down, cleaned out these lines, and then just removed it. Kind of a rather quick process. They still have, they still have the permanent one over here, and this is actually probably more of like a prime-up line or a drain, but that one, obviously with the flex hoses, is a little bit more temporary. But it's very impressive to see that how quickly they got the hoses for the QD up here.
It is a cutie pie.
So moving on to another location in Sanchez, Massey's. Thomas, do you have any ideas what's going on here?
It's probably a drain basin. We've seen something like that similarly just at Sanchez, for instance. You'll see they have lots of rock between the mud flats and Sanchez where they have a drain. So water comes in from the right side and it goes to the left, and so you're filtering everything out, and it basically is a retention pond. So the lowest area is on the left-hand side, the highest is on the right.
But why need a retention pond if you have, a moat surrounding it?
Well, you can't dump all of the contaminated water that's got oil and other things right into those area. That moat is basically navigable waters or something like that. You can't just dump your waste into the river or the area that's going to the river, which, I mean, it's pretty bad at this end of the Rio Grande, but they're still getting drinking water out of it just to the right.
So do you think this is an actual filtration system then, where you're saying it comes in from this side and goes through each bank of rocks almost, and then they can pull it back out from over here, and all your dirt and stuff is diminished as it goes through those layers, or what?
Yeah, dirt, sediment, those things will be removed up to the other side, but I don't think they'll collect it. They could. If it starts to overfill, they can bring it over to the reverse osmosis plant, because it would be clean drinking water in a sense that you could use, or cleaner drinking water. But you'd have to get rid of the oils, and reverse osmosis, you can still do all of that. But really think about this entire area, and let's say concrete at all. Then you really do need a basin like this. To the right, you've got some concrete. They remove some concrete in other areas, but we could see this entire area basically just become either non-permeable soils or basically hard rock, which you can hold some water, but not a whole lot. So if you do have a larger storm, you need something like this to hold some water.
It doesn't even look that deep. I mean, it looks like it's just raised up probably, I don't know, 5-6 feet.
Yeah, about 6 feet. I'm seeing on the left-hand side, maybe 7 with that little excavator.
But it looks raised, not like it drops down. I guess, is there a little bit of a drop down here? I can't even...
Yeah, it drops from this side to the to the further back. You can use the right-hand side to gauge it, really. So the surface
Over here.
on the right-hand side, on the far right, it's all one level. But then you can see going to the left, it really just goes down.
Like a pool.
Yeah. One thing that I still can't figure out, what is that thing next to there? I saw that the other day, and I could not make heads or tails of it. Can you figure out what that is?
I mean, the only thing I could think of was maybe being like a base for something, like not this tank in particular, but another tank like that, like maybe something to sit on top of it. But truthfully, no, I have no idea. Yeah, I was looking at it as well. I saw it in, it's a little bit clearer when you look at it from the overhead images. But I mean, it just seems like it's a.
Oh,
It
okay.
looks
So
like a shield, like the shape of a shield, like the stereotypical shape of a shield. You put a logo on.
that's so
Massive.
weird. I can definitely see the base structure. I think it's upside down.
Think so?
I think so. I mean, it's weird, but it looks like this would be the bottom side, maybe.
Yeah, I looked at that one and I think that actually showed up a few weeks ago, but still had no idea what it is.
I assume it has something probably to do with the can crusher or something, because I mean it has the same colorations, the rust, but it's like, where's it been this whole time? And I don't remember seeing anything like that go with the can crusher, but it could be like a center post for accessing the engines area or something like that. That's just really odd.
That's interesting.
Do we have time to read a couple of questions before we move on?
Yeah.
All right. The first one's from Gwen Ever. Do we expect Massey's to get a permanent TFR like at the launch site? Me personally, I think maybe. And if they do, it's not going to be as high as 10,000 feet. Probably looking at like 2,000, like the initial ones. What do y'all think?
I hope not. I mean, that would be the end of the flyovers, or not flyovers, but the drone shots in this area or this immediate vicinity. So you don't go over the property when you're doing the drone shots. You go around it, as you've mentioned before. The only other exception would be the flyovers, which are 10,500 feet.
Which isn't too bad, in my opinion. The 10,000 foot one, sometimes we get to see a little bit more detail than on the drone shots because of the higher resolution camera.
Yeah.
We have another question here. I'm going to rapid fire here with the questions. Sharpie says, "Will Masses get entirely concreted over?" I don't see why. What do y'all think?
It doesn't seem necessary, but I mean, it's a possibility. It doesn't seem necessary or likely. I mean, I think there'll be like a huge driveway in here for. They'll probably, actually, or probably have concrete in here, then, road base on here. But I mean, they brought the ship here without actually completing this road. I mean, it's still a dirt road, right? So who knows? Maybe they won't. I feel like it's a cleaner environment if they do, but I don't know. What do you think, Thomas?
I think a lot of road base and then a bunch of concrete, so it's going to be a mixture of the two.
The next question here is from 55 Chevy Guy. Question is a HIPPO required for a static fire station? I'm not sure I don't think we're doing static fires here at Massey's, right?
Not so far. You could eventually do static fires if you got a vertical or horizontal test stand, probably horizontal, but there's no signs or indications of that yet. We do see that they have the cryo station set up, but there's no methane tanks, unless they use the ones to the right for methane. But again, you could use those ones off to the right for nitrogen, and you could do booster tests. So it'll be a while probably before we actually see any of those tests yet.
All right,
Yeah.
the next one here. Oh, go ahead, Zach. Sorry about that.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, as far as the engine testing goes, like if this is a retention pond and with all of this over here, you're kind of running out of space for to have a possibility of a Raptor test stand here.
You basically have to remove that tent, which looks like they are using it for their offices and actual inventory for Massey's. So they're leaving all of the shelving and actually rotated the shelving since last week. It used to be all like horizontally run, and now we've got some perpendicular parts on the shelving. So they're keeping the shelving, but and so the inventory guys don't get to keep it.
All right, I got the last question here from Crane Man. Did the roadwork have anything to do with the transport of Ship 25 to Massey's? Me personally, when I was headed over to Starbase, I did notice new potholes. I'm not sure if that was as a result of the SPMT going over Highway 4, but with Ship 25 there. But what do y'all think?
They had to get rid of Jersey barriers in order to move Ship 25. So either they were waiting for that to occur, or the opposite, they moved the Jersey barriers and they weren't fully completed with the construction. You'd be the best one to know on this because I haven't seen Highway 4 in a bit.
So what they did is they're working on part of the highway, but there's a big gap in the middle between Massey's and Starbase that hasn't been worked on. So I'm not sure if I'm guessing just eventually they'll get that patched up. That area between Massey's and Starbase eventually.
Yeah, they do in segments, so they kind of travel around a bit.
And that's all the questions. I don't know if y'all want to move on or go to something else.
Yeah, sure. And just to point something out really quick, it looks like I'm just looking at this other image from a little bit more of a distance, that at least at the entrance to Starbase, that those Jersey barriers have been removed. So, and you can kind of see both sides have been completed. So I'm guessing it's a nice little smooth ride when you're entering Starbase now, Mauricio. At least for this part.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Like I said, it's still pretty bad between Starbase and Massey's. I really do hope they fix that. If not, it gets a lot of traffic. It gets a lot of traffic, a lot of extra weight that I don't think it was designed for initially. But
Right.
yeah, it's pretty bad. You'll find out when you come down here next month.
Yeah,
I'll be down there next month.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. I mean, in the previous, and I mentioned this before, so doing all of the other road construction work, they didn't just do it all at one time. They did it in sections. So hopefully, just finishing up this section, they're about to get ready to move on to another one instead of just only doing that section. So yeah, I guess we'll find out in the very near future. But yeah, why don't we move on to the Sanchez site?
Sounds good.
So, Thomas, what
Left to right. Let's go that way because that's the best way to do it. So this area is completely missing so many boom lifts and scissor lifts and just everything. Most of it seems to be down at the orbital launch mount. They're working like crazy over there. But yeah, this area is cleared up quite a bit at United Rentals lot. So this is where they're doing all the maintenance. So this is basically their maintenance yard for United Rentals. And that's just something that we should point out. Then we can move on.
I almost wonder, like, when we saw all of them being stored here, if that was like they were doing a last bit maintenance or like a quick checkup on all these before they continue or initiate the surge that they're in right now. Because it feels like they are in at least a labor surge at the launch site. I don't know about the build site right now, but it definitely looks like it at the launch site.
I was reading an old article because we were trying to figure out how many employees they have. 1,200 confirmed workers is what I was reading. This is from last year. But it looks to be about more than 3,000, including the contractors. So it's crazy. And that's going to be over a period of a year, not just per day or something like that. All right. So you want to look at those a bit?
It looks like they haven't really done anything with these yet.
Nope.
Still laying in the same spot. Same thing with the potential blast deflectors. Haven't really touched any of this pipe over here. But I guess we can keep moving up. We do have some odd looking structures that are in here. I think these have been here for a while. Still haven't seen them actually do anything with this. And I guess
I think they're for SPMTs for those pieces. I think so. I've seen similar structures with the SPMTs before.
Is it like ultra wide SPMT mode?
Maybe, but we were talking about this the other day. That we've got a device we called the Mega Lift, which is basically a bunch of this kind of stuff with the SPMTs, and they only ever lifted Ship 15 with it. That was it, and we haven't seen it since. And I don't know if those are part of it or if it's gone completely missing.
Wait, I thought these were new though.
Although I think those are newish, but I don't know. They were black for the pieces I'm thinking of, and they kind of have that similar look.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, moving on. So this I can't remember. Oh, sorry. This is the transport stand I got shipped from KSC, right?
Yeah.
And this is the random one that they've been working on for a while now.
Yeah, they've got 2 of those. I don't know where the second one actually disappeared to. But you see that one on the ground photos as well. So that one, it looks to be, or at least Jax believes it's a test stand for boosters. So they'll be able to move the boosters around on it. And it's not going to be a full-fledged stand. So it'd be like a test tank, but it has booster parts, something like that. So we might see Massey's get other tests like, cryo tests with potential explosions or other things like that.
Wait, cryo test at Massey's?
It could get it. I mean, you've got the tanks. You just need to hook it up for a cryo test, just like you had where the can crusher's at. So think of like E-Dome and things like that, but for boosters.
I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't do anything other than like water there. Hold on, I'm trying to find this ground image of it. Let me actually just swap over to those.
Yeah, those right there. You just passed them.
Is it right
left?
Here?
There you go. Left 2 more. And it's in the foreground is what we're looking at. Hey, and a water bottle to scale. And a paint can to match.
A paint can. So yeah, basically you would be able to set a booster on top of here, not with engines installed, obviously. But this is, I mean, essentially, okay, so what if it's just for not full vehicles? I mean, I guess the stand is beefy enough to take full vehicles. It's just odd because it would be really I feel like it's more difficult to use something like this versus the actual transport stand since they have clamps on them.
Well, we could be looking at it as the other way to talk about it. So we could be doing full cryo tests at the cryo station, and this would be one of the stands because it's pretty beefy, and they added extra elements to it, and so that kind of fits. So they've beefed it up. They would be able to do cryo tests at the cryo station at Massey's with a stand like this, and they've got a second one floating around somewhere around here that looks just like it, but they need to get to this one first, it looks like.
Is there a chance that this is just for, final construction in the high bay? So like once they bring the aft section in, they sit it on top of this and then do that final stack?
That's what I asked as well with Jax. I don't remember the answer he gave. But yes, you could be using this to move them around, but it's just pretty tall. It doesn't quite make sense. You could only install, let's say, the 13 center engines or something along those lines with a stand like this.
Well, I think it would just be used for that final stack. So the last full stack that we saw, I believe they actually moved a transport stand in there for a while, and they had it sitting on top of the transport stand as they were doing those final welds. And then they lifted it off of that and put it onto the actual transport stand. But I think the problem with that is that with a regular transport stand, you probably can't rotate it the same way as you would. Like it's probably not convenient for being on a turntable because it has those clamps on there. So I don't know.
Well, as far as turntables go, you wouldn't use something like this, I don't think. You just basically use a turntable that's
lower to the ground.
Lower to the ground, yeah. And you just use the cranes to move it around. You'd use 2 cranes or just 1 crane, sorry, for the moving around just one part of the booster. Because it's usually in sections. It'll be, let's say, the methane section, or I'm sorry, the lock section's aft section, really. And then they'll put on the locks section as well. And then they'll have the methane section that they'll stack on top of all of that. And then after that, they'll need the 2 cranes to move it around. So they'll typically stack, I think, with the 2 cranes, because then you can lift it up and move it around where you need to after you've done your final weld.
Well, speaking of cranes, We have another crane arriving at the Sanchez site. And I was actually surprised with this one, not seeing the crane, but the color of it actually, because this is a Buckner crane.
Yeah, they used to be black and yellow. So this is an older crane. They don't make this model anymore for Liebherr. This is coming from Nate. I was listening to the show and tell last night, so good on them to give me some notes. But anyways, this is the lofting jib for the crane. So this is going to have a look like when they did the cryo shells at Sanchez. It sticks out and over the article that you're working on. And so it does reduce the amount that it can lift, but you should still be able to lift, let's say, a booster or Starship, but the booster is the one that weighs about 250 metric tons with a ullage, as far as Elon is told.
Well, speaking of that, let's go ahead and look at where they have this crane being set up at, because this has been a little bit odd, and this is a whole mystery over here about what's actually going on. So we got a lot. First, we have a rather large crane being set up. It was LTR 1750.
I think it's an LG
No.
1750. LR?
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many different versions, but yeah.
So rather large crane though. I think that max tonnage is. I'm actually not sure on that one. Is it 1750? No, it's not. That'd be way too much. I'm not really sure on that one. Maybe somebody will tell us here in the studio. But so they have this large crane, and first of all, when this showed up, I was kind of I heard that I was coming probably about a week or two before it actually arrived. Initially, thought it would end up at the launch site for construction of like a water tower or something like that, but it appears that it's coming here. So, Thomas, do you have any idea like why here?
Well, it's really, look at the ground underneath. You can see that they've got road base or something like that to put the crane on. It's going to be intended to be used here. It's going to be driving around on this soil, basically. That's basically above concrete. You don't want to mess up the concrete, so you put the soil down to do that. And basically what they're building right next to it is kind of the indicator that it looks like they're going to basically have a stand right here. It's raised up pretty high, but it's open on all bays, or at least all 6 bays. So what I'm looking at is potentially a way to hold maybe ships and boosters, but more likely I'm thinking boosters because it's got the most number of engines. And you can install most of them directly right here.
So how would that work? You think there would be another ring on top of this?
Yeah, I think there'd be 6 posts and then a ring on top. So kind of looking like, let's say, a test stand, like test stand A or something like that. But it's really just a platform or a system to hold just the booster or the ship. I mean, this indicates more of a ship, the way that it looks, because it's got 6, and ships basically 6 as well. However, you could get away with doing it with a booster, just depending on how you connect it together. What we're missing is the ring on top, and you can go to the ground photos.
Like the diameter is less than 9 meters.
You got a 9 meter just to the right.
Yeah, the inner diameter right here. If you were using the posts, like that's looks smaller than 9 meters.
Well, that's just 3 parts of a segment. Doesn't go full like 180 degrees across because of that. You're looking at 120 degrees right there between those 3 posts.
Well, just basing it off of the inner part where all of these mounts are, I wish we had a direct overhead. Let's see if I can find this is close to being a direct overhead. No, it's not.
The last one you just had was pretty close.
Really?
Yeah, it was over there. Just there you go. Those to the right, maybe.
To the right?
Yeah, just right there. To the left.
Was this not the one?
No, it's to the left 2 more, I think. Oh, is it not in the picture?
No, it's not. That was
Dang it.
Yeah, sorry. So, I mean, this gives us a decent look on it. So, I guess maybe it is 9. It just looks. I guess these ones right here are throwing it off. But I'm looking at the inner diameter based on where these are located.
Yeah, it extends beyond the. So each of those posts you're looking at, you're right. They're not 9 meters. They would be like 8 3/4 or something.
So whatever is going on top is going to have an overhang or something like that?
Oh no, it'd be a ring, and the ring overhangs between them, if that makes sense. So it extends out further, at least on the top and bottom one that you're looking at. So the ring hits the left side and then the right side straight on, but in between it goes further out because it's a ring. I mean, I wish I could draw this for you.
I'm having a tough time imagining it, I'm not going to lie. This has been a mystery one. I haven't even tried guessing on this one, but let's we can check on it from the ground as well too, since we have some good images from the ground.
And that max tonnage you were looking for says max cap for an LR 1750 is 825 US tons. Animal says 750 T max as well.
That's metric tons, yeah. That's why it's 1750. You just remove the one, you got the 750 tons.
Right. So this is on Friday. Mauricio went back out, and we can see them while they're all 6 have been lifted into place, and still no sight of what's going on top of it. But I mean, even looking at it like this, it just looks, that inner diameter looks smaller than 9. But do you think there's any chance that there's an existing stand that might go on top of this, or is it going to be something completely new?
I think it's going to be something new. I mean, these pieces are pretty new. I was looking at them and they looked familiar. There's a piece at Sanchez on the overview that is similar to these, but it's not the same. These are very different. So I think they're going to have something else brand new coming out of the GSE building or wherever they got these from, and it'll go on top.
Right.
The question is whether it would be adapted for ships or boosters. Boosters, like, the idea is that you would need to install engines, and this is where you might do it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Especially since the building where they may be storing them is basically on the backside of the mega bay, so this would be a rather short distance to take engines. Then you're not tying up the high bay for it. But on that note, I do feel like if something like this is truly meant for engine installation, then, well, would that imply that crane is going to be here for a while?
Well, it could be that they are going to use it for specifically moving a booster on top of this pretty soon, and then they're going to do something else with the crane. But from what we've heard, it's they called it a dry rental, or at least the what we've heard was called a dry rental. It's probably bare metal is another way to describe it. However, what that means is SpaceX will be the one operating the crane. So we have no idea, and we don't know the actual schedule for the crane. We just know that it's needed by SpaceX, and it arrived here, and the indicators were all saying beforehand that, yeah, they're going to get this big old crane here, and there it is. But yeah, it's just the question of, will they actually operate another crane over here, or will they in the future bring Marvin, the LR 11,000, to the build site? Because it's, depending on how things go, we might not see much action at the test stands over there. We just see static fires, and that would be about it.
That is a possibility. So we got some other, I mean, have we figured out what's going on with this test stand over here, or the transport stand?
Well, we've got what people are calling the Mickey Mouse ears. You can see them in the ground photos.
Okay.
So they're basically, it looks like beefing it up, or the Mickey Mouse ears could be also a way of hooking in and tying yourself in, so your safety lines, basically. We saw a system that earlier. Yeah, those, yeah. They kind of look like you could clip in. That's one way to look at it. But that's really beefy.
Yeah, they added these on to Booster 9's transport stand. But we haven't seen, I mean, to me, it almost looks like something else supposed to bolt in on the back. Like, I almost thought it was something to automatically actuate the clamps. So right now they have to manually undo these, versus if they had an actual system that would release the clamps, so that it doesn't take as long to actually get the booster on and off the transport stand.
Yeah, there's these same clamps, or these same ears, I guess, on Booster 10's transport stand. over basically where it has the, or not booster 10. Sorry, it was booster 8. What's left of booster 8?
Was booster 8 stand?
Yeah, over at the front end of Sanchez. It was basically that same photo we were looking at with the other stand. Yeah, just right. Oh shoot, no, those
It's
are not
further
the ones.
back. The one that was right next to these.
Yeah, that one right there. So they're going through and adding those pieces on there as well.
Dang it.
You can see them. It's just you've got that front stand in front of it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So it's just replicating across the whole thing. But this kind of throws out the whole idea of them being just used for tying yourself in, because they already have the safety stuff on top.
I mean, do you need 2 tie-ins right next to each other?
No, you just use the one that you can move back and forth on. It's so much easier and better. So this would probably be for the pins themselves. Like you could basically pull the pins backwards or do something else if you've got problems with it. But yeah, it's very strange that they have these on all of these transport stands now.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see what they actually, like, evidence of what they're actually going to use it for. But let's move on to something that we started talking about at the beginning of the episode at Massey's, which is the nose cone jail base. Oh, this is a good one. So we finally have a nose cone on top of it, looking all nice.
So some major elements to look at here. First off, that ring at the bottom, it's got stringers, so they're stiffened that up from the inside. One really important element is the manhole to the right, so they've been accessing it from that. And apparently you can sit outside on a chair when you need to. But no, they've got an air system that looks like it's just below him.
This is interesting because this feature just doesn't exist on a normal nose cone.
No, not this far up. No.
I'm interested to see how that affects the test. Well, hold on a second. So this ring, it's almost like this is a support structure for the nose cone.
Yes,
and it's not actually part of the test.
Yeah, they're not testing it. You don't see all of the sensors even connected to this. They're going to probably have this be even beefier. They could even do stringers on the outside if they wanted to, just to make it like 100%. Now, this is the extra interesting part. So we've got some fingers that you can actually go to another picture, and it has a little bit better
doubler plate.
It's like a weld doubler, but it says no weld on it. So you can zoom in. I think of the next one over. Yeah, that's one. I think. Yeah. So no weld, and those are the fingers that you would basically have for your weld doubler. So it looks like they're wanting to weld that after, but not right now. So this basically is part of the base structure that is welded down to for the ring that they have right here. This is the exact same kind of plate that they had, except there should be some angles too that they had with the nose cone 12 when they did its nose cone test. So if you actually go to the right, we might see some of that, the plate. I guess it's not there. I thought there was an angled plate somewhere. We have a second one of those with fingers off to the far right where the gentleman to the right is standing. So it's just right in front of him, where his reflection's at. Basically.
Okay, I see it.
We've got other pictures further to the right. There we go. Can see it a little bit better.
He's the guy writing the messages.
Probably.
So interesting. Yeah, that's really. I wonder what Jax's opinion is on this, but he's not here today. But yeah, we should see either this get transported to Massey's. I mean, I think that's the most likely. If we look at it from the air, I don't know. It just doesn't look like they're set up to do that actual test here. And last time they did it at the launch site, they could have easily done it here, but it just seems like that's not a test they want to do here for some reason. No idea why. I mean, there could be a possibility that they actually pressurize the nose cone right when they do this test.
Could be. So it's something that they talked about. However, I'd expect to see a pressurization test like that with a whole cone, a whole nose cone. So they would have to go through and seal it up with all the holes that they've made as
Right.
well. But it would be a good test because it would be about 1 bar differential. So it'd be like 2 bar inside and 1 bar outside, or something close to thereof.
Right. And so this is basically testing the new nose cone construction method, which actually isn't new. It's already in place on several vehicles, right? So it's like a late test essentially.
Yeah, so that's the panels themselves are stretch formed, and they have the entire thing as one panel instead of numerous panels, which actually should make it stronger. But then what it looks like they've done is they've reduced the amount of material. So when you stretch form, it reduces the material, makes it stronger at the same time. But you also want to verify. So it's like you trust but verify. You've got the computer models, but then you've got real life. So
Right.
now they'll be able to actually do some tests. A lot of people are questioning whether they'll do this before the test flight. I don't think it's 100% necessary. They'll find out sooner or later when they hit max Q on that test flight if this works or not. But it looks like it should. It's just the question will probably be that they're asking is how much more material can we remove? That's
Right.
probably the direction they're really going. How much more can we press this? Can we do full like we instead of going through and reducing the amount of thrust of your engines during max Q like Falcon 9, Elon indicated he wants to do full thrust all the way. So it starts off at maybe 90% thrust and then goes to 100% thrust and continues all the way until basically main engine cutoff, and that's a really simple way of basically just ramming through the atmosphere, I guess you could say.
You know, if I ever end up on a Starship, I hope they slow down for max Q. Not even just for like a safety thing, but more just for part of the experience, you know? Like that would be a really cool experience just to actually feel it throttle down and then back up.
Oh, I've had a dream years ago when this was like 2 years ago that I was at some conference and there was Elon giving a speech, and then they went through and had people flying on the Starship, and it was really fun dream. And my dad was there. It was just the best thing ever. But yeah, you went up like a 10-minute flight and then back down just like a normal flight like SN15.
I'm trying to find a better image of like closer to the air separation plant, because it looks like they've done a little bit of work over there. Let me see.
Yeah, there's
You don't
some
have to-
big changes there.
Do it from this angle.
We got a shipping container castle now.
Yeah, what's up with that? I was actually expecting like maybe some more tanks to go here or something like that. But yeah, are these just offices, or do you think for storing stuff?
Both. So they use it for storage. They use it for offices. They use it as windbreaks when they're welding stuff. You can see there's a lot of stuff around there, so they're going to use most of it for storage, it looks like.
Oh, do you think there was a weld station over here, right? Do you think
Yeah,
they're
it's
moving?
right
do you
there
think
in
they're
front of
moving this?
you. Yeah, those are welding stations. Like the entire area is dedicated to welding.
Do you think they're possibly moving this whole area over there?
I don't see a reason to. This area is still a valid area to build stuff unless they need this for something else. They built the nose cone, or I'm sorry, the crowd shells here. They built the integration tower segments just up above. So this area is pretty good area to build big things, and unless we're getting other stuff coming in, I don't expect to see any of that. So right now we've got all the luge pipe being there. We'll get back to that later.
Oh, yeah, we'll go back to that one. Interesting. Yeah, so that was not covered up last week, or maybe it was before while we were gone. But they got some more digging down here. This is hey, so is this the building that came? This is what's at the launch site right now.
They have a bunch of buildings like that everywhere.
Are you sure? Are you sure that this
Yeah.
wasn't the one that was moved to the launch site? Because we could check really quick. Actually, I just want to look at this at the launch
We've got
site.
like 3 or 4 of these at Massey's now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So these are pretty popular buildings. They look like to be utility buildings, so you've got your electrical coming in.
So I know that after this image was taken, there's one of these now sitting here.
So,
Yeah.
by the way, this is what Dave and everybody was wondering your opinion about. They want to know what you think is in those containers.
We'll get back
we'll
to
get
that. That's a whole conversation right there.
I shouldn't have even opened up the launch site. Teased myself. And you, sorry. So, yeah, I guess the reason I thought that is because it looks like they were digging up the maybe the lines that were installed down there so that they could move it.
They're adding power is what looks like they're doing.
Adding it, not subtracting it.
Adding it to go to somewhere else. It looks like they're going all the way up and down to the left. So right that location, they're trying to get power directly to that building and to some other things.
Okay. So nothing too exciting then.
Well, it's all exciting, but it's just, what does it mean?
Yeah, very true. So I guess we'll move down to the I always forget the
Inventory
name of this
tent.
thing. Inventory tent. I've never been a inventory. Well, actually, I am kind of an inventory manager to some degree right now. So yeah, this is still just I really wonder how they get things out of this. Like, if you need something back here, like
They
what do you
pick
do?
stuff up, get it out of the way, and put it somewhere else, and they get into the area they need to. When we get to the launch site, you'll see this as well. I'd probably have to pull up an old image to show you, but they move things around to get something in the back. They do it all the time.
That's like a whole job, just moving stuff around. Like, yeah, what do you want me to move today?
Yeah, they need more shelving, honestly. So a lot of these things that are on pellets, you could put it on shelves. The pipes, obviously not, but they need more shelving.
But shelves indicate longevity. These things don't last very long in their locations.
Well, some of this stuff is going to be a while because this is for like a second integration tower or and the fuel farm that goes with it, or basically something like Suborbital Pad C. Like all those red valves at the bottom left there.
Yeah,
That
infrastructure.
Well,
And then you have like infrastructure related things. I think these are too. These are not vehicle related. Not vehicle related. And not vehicle related.
I hope not. I mean, that's how many vehicles would that be?
Right. These actually could be vehicle related. I don't believe they are the same material as like your stainless steel right here for that they actually use inside the vehicle. But I mean, other than that, most of this stuff does. Whoa, are these all valves here too? No.
No, those look like pipes, I think, and they're
Okay.
capped, so flex lines. Maybe.
Okay. So yeah, I mean,
those are pipes, but they're not flex. They're bent. So from the other angle, you can see it a bit better.
capped.
But yeah, so they're bent and capped, and you could look at these as part of, let's say, a water deluge system. So that's a big one. It looks like you'd form several rings about things. So up a bit more there. Perfect.
Hey, these are the bent ones these are very similar to what I initially thought was going to be on the launch mount.
Yeah, so these could be for test
Go
stands.
around
C.
the leg.
They have stuff like that on test stands A and B. But I always look at that and think water deluge.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of water deluge, like they have these pipes back here, which I believe are probably part of it. So it's like interesting to get how they're going to get to those. They literally have to move all this stuff out the way just to get to those items. But
Well, they got a whole crane just to do that.
yeah, I guess that big crane reach all the way over the tent and grab those potentially. Maybe.
It could, but it's just a joke in general. They would move a bunch of stuff out of the way and use a crane to pick it out of all of it. Probably like the what was it? See, it's the Grover 1750. There's too many 1750s.
Yeah. There's too many cranes in general. It's hard to remember all of them. But moving on, we have see more progress on these pipe sections right here. I'm actually
it's
wondering.
capped on both sides on this one up in the middle. You can see that they've got it capped on the right and on the left. So it goes as a segment in between the legs like we discussed last week, or not last week, the week before last, and the week before that, that it would be, there's a good chance it would be segmented, and so it is. The question is, are they going to bury it?
One of the interesting things I'm seeing here is that, obviously this will lay between two legs. But this one right here, I'm wondering if it's just a direct connection between these two. So like, because they won't be able to, like, let's say, go around the electrical lines that are not the electrical, sorry, the comms lines that are coming up that one leg of the launch mount. So instead of going underneath those, this gets them around it. So you won't have like a complete, is it an octagon on that? Was it an octagon?
It's a hexagon.
It's hexagon, yeah. So you won't have a complete hexagon. You just have a one that's in pieces, essentially. So this one right here, I'm imagining there'll probably be another one bringing it at an angle. So they might have two connected to this line and then bridge over to this one.
And they won't be directly in between the legs. They'd be outside of the legs based off of how this is set up.
Right. Outside. Yeah. Right outside of the legs. I'm guessing they would almost near bump against them. Well, actually, no. Sorry. They're a few feet back just from the render that we had.
So like that one in the middle, it would be a good one to use, for instance, be like where the staircase is at, for instance, or the doghouse in the staircase, because they stick out further. This is narrower. That one makes sense to be right there for the middle one. But the other ones, like that one on the right, it could easily be to the left of the stairs. So it continues around a little ways.
And as always, we will touch on these again once we get to the launch site.
Oh, there's more. Yeah, go down a bit. Oh, you've got some other stuff here, but we'll get to that in a second. So there's these two pipes. Yeah. So yeah, the one on the left, it's been around for a while, but this one as well has the they're called nipples, but these pieces that are coming out. You can see that they've already marked them, that it's going to have those exact same pieces sticking out.
This thing's going to be weird. So it looks like there may actually end up being some vertical sections of it then.
I don't think it's going to be vertical. I think it's just going to be coming in at a weird angle for this pipe. And it's even narrower than the other pipes too, which
I mean,
really
technically
weird.
This one's more narrower than these ones up here, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the line, you don't really need as like the same diameter, you know. So if your supply is coming in from over here, then the pipe coming after this could potentially be smaller than the other. Since you're not like trying to create a complete manifold, it can actually decrease in diameter theoretically.
Yeah, because you're already releasing plenty of pressure and fluids off of the those lines up above. Now the thinner one right here, that would also be a really good candidate for, let's say, the area to the right of the doghouse. Like it would come in at an opposite angle. So that would be perfect because you could basically be in between the trench and the legs and it would fit. So I went back and looked at all of the older flyover pictures that Mauricio took back when we had the trenching and everything else, and something like that would fit perfectly. I would love to see all of these buried because then you don't have the engine impingement.
Right.
But then you're really risking hitting those pre-formed concrete culverts that hold all of the cryo lines.
Yeah. I think one interesting possibility with this one is, or just in general, it would be interesting to see one on the front of the tower, like a vertical one on the front of the tower facing the launch mount. Because then you kind of create like a wedge outwards that protects the base of the tower a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I actually wanted one running up the whole tower, if you could do it, and basically have the tank at the top of the tower. And
I mean, that would be cool, actually, because you could rain it down from the top of the tower as the vehicle's launching, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, you're basically saving, 7 seconds or 8-9 seconds or something of the noise. You're basically suppressing the noise by doing that. But it does give you a whole lot to do such a thing. It's just a fun idea.
It is a fun idea, but it's not unrealistic because the SLS launch structure has water deluge on the top, right? I don't know if you call it water deluge, but it's a considerable amount of water that comes from the top of that.
Yeah.
structure.
It protects the structure and the infrastructure underneath. So something like that could happen with the integration towers, but then it's at the same time you want a water tank at the top of the tower,
Right.
just so you can have some amount of volume. But then you're gonna have to have additional storage and pumps to make that happen. And I don't think we have anything like that yet. So going to these plates right here, we talked about these, I think last week or the week before as well. So those holes on the left, they match up with the holes on the right. So these would be the caps. So you have basically
You're
those
talking about
sections. Yeah. So those sections would be the caps that go under to cap the pipes for the water deluge. So those are pretty significant pieces. So that one's got like 7 holes, I think, or something like that. Maybe it's 9. And then the other one's like 7. So it doesn't
9,
quite
yep.
match up.
It does a little bit. Where was the other one?
Well, it's both of those pieces. They haven't cut any holes out on the one on the right yet.
Oh,
It looks like they're measuring it right now.
Interesting. So it looks like they're not too big, so to the point where like you'd fall into them. Because the ones I was always wondering what this looks like, because at 39A we never really got to see what the ground around the launch mount looks like yet.
Yeah, the question is, at the very top, will they have bolts or anything else, or would you have a flange that aims it in? I mean, it's not really going to do anything if you aimed it in, unless you start up your deluge before you start up the engines, in which case it does protect the fondag and other stuff underneath for 1.5 seconds.
Interesting.
Mauricio, do we have some questions?
Yes, we have a first question from Peter. The Deluge system at LC39A for Falcon has structural reinforcements for the vertical water pipe sections. Have we seen the similar structural reinforcement pieces at Starbase?
For water deluge or anything like that? Not
Wait.
yet.
Wait, can you repeat that question?
Yes, the Deluge system at LC39A for Falcon has structural reinforcements for vertical water pipe sections. Have we seen similar structural reinforcement pieces at Starbase?
I would have to look at what those look like. I'm having a hard time.
It's back bracing, holding up the pipe, basically.
Gotcha.
And we haven't seen anything like that yet. Something that has come up repeatedly as a question, and I'll bring it up because it's along the same lines. The blast diverters, not blast diverters, whatever you call them. Yeah, they're kind of a blast diverter that are further back. We don't know exactly where they'll be, and that's the area next to. Oh, there they are. Perfect. Like, the question is, could those be used part of the water deluge system or something along those lines? Not really. There's not a whole lot of structure to that. But let's say if you put those up against the integration tower or something like that, you could have water deluge with them so that you're protecting the integration tower and these pieces as well. But then again, it's really confusing on where these particular pieces go.
Any more questions?
Yeah, we have one more here from Benjamin Klein. Could the Deluge system pipes at Sanchez just be about 15 meters away from the legs and spray sidewards in the area under the OLM?
They could, but I don't think that would do what they need it to do as far as sound dampening. So you probably want it as close to the launch mount as you can get it.
All right. And then the last question here from Disney Lovers. Are they going to get the Deluge done and installed before Orbital? I think we've already said that it's going to be after, right? It's going to take a lot of work for that.
Well, there's people saying it's going to be before. People say after. I'm saying it would be after, and I'm hoping it's after, because if they do it before, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. I've heard people say before Orbital, and then also say that we're launching in March, but I don't think those two things, water deluge and March, don't go together at all. So yeah, I think water deluge and May or April probably makes sense, but not March. That's just my opinion. Cool. Any more questions?
That's all the questions I have. I don't know if Indian Star has the donations ready to go.
I do actually have the donations ready to go. I missed the ones that happened at the very start of the stream before we actually started, but I do have several, and we could start off with Yazada, who donated $5. Jacqueline donated 11 euros and said the train's gone. Then Astro Joe came in with $10 and said the train doesn't derail. Joey Bag of Donuts came in with $10. Up, up, and away, he says. John Dopker with $10 says choo choo. And we want to welcome Anonymous, who became an RGV flight supporter today. Welcome to the team. Starbase FR donated 15 euros and says thanks for the show and for sharing all awesome pictures to help us follow this amazing project. I'd say you're welcome, but I haven't done anything, so. Nathan Weller came in with $9.99 and says thank you guys. John Dopker became an RGV early access member, or I'm sorry, not became, he's been one for 13 months, and says, yep, been a heck of a ride. Thanks, everyone. And then Dave W. became an RGV early access member. Welcome to the early access members and supporters, and thank you for the donations, guys. Back to you.
Well, thank you, everybody. That's incredible and amazing for all those donations. Thank you so much.
And real quick here before we move on, we did miss a couple of donations from the beginning of the stream. If y'all could just reach out to me or just leave it in the chat, we'll read them out later on in the stream. Sorry about that. The bot is broken, so.
The bot is broken. And you can ping me too if you don't want to do Mauricio.
So I know that Zach is wanting to talk about this. This is Booster 6's test tank.
Why? What is happening here?
This is one of those stands that we were talking about. It kind of wandered off. Here it is.
Yeah, then they reinforced it. Okay, so now they're welding Booster 6 down to the base of this stand, and I mean it has these eyes on there for strapping this thing down. I'm wondering if they're going to do a test of failure on this.
That would be nice.
But why?
Well, you want to see what the bar pressure you can actually bring these things up to. It's been a while since we've seen one of those, and this one has a nice patina that kind of also tells us another story of like just sitting out in the southeast sea air. How well does this last? I was actually doing some measurements the other day, or actually earlier today, specifically on boosters and head pressure. Specifically, the boosters need to have at least, just sitting there, about 7.6 bar is the minimum requirement. And then it was like...
unreinforced, like without being supported, that's how much they need?
So just the tank, the LOX tank specifically at the bottom, it needs at least 7.6 bar of being able to hold that in at a minimum before you even get to the flight. So at flight, you're going up to 1.5 on the thrust to weight ratio. And I had to redo the math. So you're going to closer to, I think, 11 bar at the very bottom at the max. Maybe that's why they're going to 90% thrust, is to reduce that pressure, because as you're lifting off, if you're at 90% thrust, you'd be at about 10 bar, 10.26.
So you're talking about basically the counteracting forces, essentially. They're not really counteracting, but force in the downwards direction from the actual weight of the propellant and Starship, and then the weight of the force of the thrust upwards.
Yeah, so it's 1.5 thrust to weight ratio is acceleration, which is just as much as gravity would be implied here. So you're looking at that inertia where the fluid just wants to sit there and stand still, and the vehicle is pushing up against it, and it's pushing out against the walls at the same time. So you really have to have a very strong system to be able to hold that in, and that's going to be at the very bottom of the tank.
Yeah, it's very interesting the way that this has been reinforced. I'm sure Jax will have more to add on that, but interesting all the same. I guess we'll be seeing some more testing with this happen soon.
I'm hoping we get to see this at Massey's, and Lab has got the rover. I'm sorry, Raptor cam. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name. Raptor cam, full 360 pointed over at Massey's now too.
What's the Raptor cam?
Raptor Roost.
Is that the one you're referring to, Thomas?
Yes, yeah. So Raptor Roost, it's just along the Rio Grande River, and now you can see from basically the launch site, the build site, Highway 4, and Massey's.
One important thing to note here before we move away from the Sanchez site. Wait, hold on. No, this is... Okay, it is 24.
Yeah, it's one tile a day.
Yeah. So they're still not done tiling the rest of 24. And they haven't... Are they finished on the backside? Do you know? I guess we'll have to look at
you have to look at the flyover to give the best view, or the ground shots towards the end.
Let's see.
So yeah, the flyover again was on Thursday. Friday was the ground shots, and then today we got Massey shots again. So yeah, there's a few missing tiles.
Man, honestly, would have thought those would be done by now.
Check Thursday, see if there's any more updates, because we've got 5-6 tiles missing there.
Wait, what do you mean?
So on the ground shots, go all the way to the end where he's at the mud flats at the build site. Because that'll give us a little bit more of an update as far as that view. Because Mauricio goes into the mud flats and trudges through that. It is super difficult because it's grabbing onto your bottom of your shoes, and the mosquitoes want to eat you alive. There we go. Oh, we've got subtract 2 from that at least. So if there's maybe the other ones on the right would be 4. Actually, I see some tape there too. So call that at least 3 left.
Are you playing this tape right here?
Yeah.
But we can't see if they have these ones up there.
Well, you can tell at least one is there. So they've tiled at least one more spot. Oh, hello.
I think I would need to compare this to an older image to see where they're missing from.
Yeah, we'll check the flyover again, and you can see that at least that one is, or those 3 are added.
Should I be able to see that?
Yeah, you should be able to see at least the 2, it looks like, on the left.
From the ground?
Yeah, if there was anything else on there. Actually, zoom in on the bottom one. Maybe that bottom one is the tile with the tape, because I see something kind of sticking out there. So just zoom out the bottom one there.
That's a little tough to see. I think I may have a closer image. Maybe. There's a possibility that this might work for us. Well, it's tough to tell if there's tape on there.
Yeah, well, that's a missing tile. So there's at least 3, I think, that are on there now that weren't there yesterday. So they actually added 3 that day, but they usually add 1 a day on average so far.
Must be a tough job. You gotta wait for the right moment to press it on so you don't damage all the ones below it when you're on the work platform.
Well, they're measuring these out. Each individual tile is specifically being measured out. And it's like, okay, we've put it on this tile. Now we can measure it out. Now that they have these openings, like for instance, those 2 on the left that got tiled, those are the easier ones to tile because you can measure them exactly. Now you got 2 tiles you can go through and install.
Wait, you think they're doing custom tiles for each one of these?
Yeah. Originally, we were expecting them to just have pins and plates, but it looks like they're gluing them on.
Interesting. I'm surprised they wouldn't just already have those ready to go, though.
Well, it's custom, so you have to measure it and figure out each individual piece, and so it's taking a lot longer than it should.
Interesting. Well, I guess that explains a lot. Definitely been wondering why that's been taking a while. Well, I guess we should move out of the build site area, into the build site area. Unless we have anything else over here that we want to talk about, Thomas?
Let me think here. I don't think there was much else as far as the big news items.
Cool.
Just looking around real quick, making sure I'm not missing something huge.
Well, if you come up with something, let me know, and I will move back over there. In the meantime, Cool. Yeah, let's head over to the ring yard then. So honestly, I don't have myself a ton of updates in the ring yard because, oh well, actually we do. So how do we go into this? Number one, I guess we have Booster 10's
Should be 11.
11 Booster 11's forward section right here, which never had grid fins installed yet, but it did have the pins for lifting and landing, and it appears that those have been removed. So let me try and look at that from the ground. Get us a ground image here.
And quick story, Booster, what was that, 10, kept making appearances, the aft section, over the week. It appeared, disappeared, appeared again, disappeared, and it's back into Tent 1, I think.
Oh, really? It didn't go into the high bay?
Nope. I'm sorry, it was Booster 11, so
or wide bay.
It wasn't Booster 10, I guess.
I did not know that this is. I never have seen this, obviously, without the pin in there. But that's a really clean looking. I don't even know what you want to call this.
Hole?
Yeah, just the way that they have that. But yeah, so they initially had the pins on here for lifting and catching the booster, and for some reason they removed it. So not really sure what the purpose for that is, but I don't know. I guess from what I've heard from just Jax is there may be actual issues with Booster 11 parts passing like tests as far as post welding tests, like after they construct it and they like perform their tests on the actual welds. Because these are some of the first booster parts that were manufactured in the Star Factory. So with that being said, they could be having issues there as far as the actual quality of the initial pieces that are coming out there. I don't know if you are able to expand on that one anymore, Thomas.
Yeah, well, there's a whole thrust section that we had that was off by several centimeters for each hole and placement. So it was like really bad. It's just sitting there rotting now at the ring yard. You could probably see it from the overview, but yeah, it's pretty funny how certain vehicles, they come out and they just kind of rot. And this one, if they come back and reinstall the new pins, great. They might actually be longer or something. There might be other changes, but that would imply that they've welded it and then removed the welding. So that's not a good sign. It probably is scrapped now.
Dang. So that's just a whole scrapped booster forward section then?
Probably. It also depends on, did they actually weld it down to begin with, or was it just put temporarily in place?
And once they remove it, I mean, if it is welded down, then they can't just reuse that, right? So I guess when I initially saw them remove it, I thought maybe they might be wanting to use it somewhere else instead on a different vehicle if this is scrapped, but I don't even know if it's possible to reuse it.
And yeah, it also depends on like how much of the material they removed, what they removed exactly. So I'd have to go back and look at the videos from Labs rover cam to actually spot that particular element. But it's
right.
It's not boding well for Booster 11.
Well, continuing on, I don't know. So with Booster 10, the aft. So you're saying the aft section came out, and I do remember seeing it in the ring yard for a bit, and then it went away.
It went back into the tent. I think actually it's now in front of Mega Bay. It's not shown in this picture, but I think that's where it is now, because that's what the ring watchers have indicated. So I'm using their website. That's a Miro board to go through and figure out where everything's at the moment. So I have their knowledge, but not their wisdom.
Yeah, we could use it, Jax. All good. So we still got some scrapping going on with Booster 8 and Ship 22.
It's 21, 22, something
21,
like that.
22, yeah. So still not complete on that.
But look at the way that they cut the one on the right. If you look at the ground shots of it, it's even better. It's like they made I think that's a ship piece, but they made it into like a castle. It's really, really weird. I think they've been going through and couponing. So couponing means they will go through and test welds. They'll cut pieces out, but yeah, it looks like a rook on a chessboard, or like a castle with the turrets.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if they just went around the stringers for some reason. Like maybe they're testing the welds around the stringers.
Yeah, well, they're testing specifically looks like the common dome or aft dome, whatever that is. I think that's the common. But you can see that's the overlap joint.
Right.
Okay, so it's not the common dome. The common dome's below it, right down there. They're testing the overlap joint. So this is the lock section and the methane section above it. So that's the manhole for the methane section. But yeah, they overlap about 4 inches, and there's 2 welds to connect the 2 sections together. And they do this on the current ships as well, or boosters as well.
It's hard to see that they're actually overlapped when you look at them. Like you don't see the 2 separate pieces.
Well, from that side profile, it's only 4 millimeters. It's like 4 or 3 pennies thick.
Yeah, I guess I would just expect to be able to see it.
And I love these little faces on that too. They don't look so great.
Oh man! All right, well, let's move on. Let's get back in the air again. Oops.
Before we get back in the air,
Yeah.
we have found all of the donations that I had missed in the beginning. Is now a good time to read them off, or you want me to wait a little longer?
Let's do it.
All right. We have a lot. These folks are so generous. Okay, we're starting this off with, I know that Sharpie started the train, but I'm not starting with Sharpie though, because I'm going to be different. So I know Sharpie started the train, so thank you, Sharpie. Then we have JK Video, who came in with $20 and says, ready for the session. John Dopker donated 5 RGV aerial photography memberships. So 5 lucky people in the chat received a gift from John Dopker for a month of free membership, which means they can join our chat here in Discord. They can get the pictures, all of the good stuff that we get, you would also get. So congratulations to those 5 people. Jim Cavett came in with another gift. He donated a gift of the RGV aerial photography membership. Again, another lucky winner was able to receive that. James Wilson donated $10 and says, chug, chug, let's get this train rolling. 55 Chevy Guy Steve also donated $10 and said he'd hop on the train. Jim Cavett donated $5. Scat 1975 donated 10 pounds and says, choo choo, all aboard. And there's Sharpie's $10 for, also says choo choo. Brent Dean came in with a Canadian $10 and says RGV choo choo. Andy Adler with 5 pounds. Train started before the stream. That's how we like it. We like the train to go first. Jake Winlow donated $10 and says he's catching the train. And then we start with Yazada again. So Yazada came in with the $5, and that's how I started. We also received a few more donations in the last 10-15 minutes. We have another donation from Scat 1975, who was kind enough to donate another 10 pounds. Then we also have Jim Cavett coming with $5, who says, I'm with you, Scat 1975. And then Brent Dean again. These are repeat donators, by the way, with great donations. Brent Dean came in with another 10 Canadian dollars and says, you guys rock. And that, my friends, are all the donations.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. You guys are awfully generous, and we appreciate it every single week. Definitely helps us keep doing this. So thank you all so much.
And more so than us, keeps Mauricio flying every week.
Agreed. Gas is have the gas prices actually been coming down for?
They were going up.
They went down for about a week, and now they're back up. And that was like 2 months ago. They went down.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, that 182 is more expensive to rent now, so we might move down to the 172 if they keep raising the rates. But we're still good. We got various aircraft to choose from at this point.
And mind you all, Mauricio is flying the plane as well, which is amazing. The man
Not while
does
he's taking
it
the photos, though.
That's what you think. He's got his knees holding the steering wheel and then his hands out the window.
And
An
one last
instructor's
thing-
asleep in the seat. Is that what you're saying?
Instructor's holding on to Mauricio so he doesn't fall out the plane.
Ah, I see.
Only this one time it happened that the door popped open just a little bit, and I got kind of spooked when I was up there. But One last thing before we move on. Thank you, Zara, for $5. Can't stop now. Thank you very much for everybody that donated. And back to you, Zach.
Cool. And sorry, I'm just scrolling through these images here. I'm trying to find the one that showed the interior of the Mega Bay, or Mid Bay. I guess this one's kind of good enough. But I'm not sure if this was pointed out last week, but piers, and we saw them pouring concrete in here. This is really hard for me to look at right now because the sun is like shining through the window. So I don't know if you guys can see this at all, but there's a ring in here, and I can't tell if this is embedded into the floor or not.
It looks like a new the new concrete pad, and then there's embeddings that are going up. It looks like rebar is going up, which is really confusing.
So something's still going to go on here,
or it's going down, and they actually haven't filled in the concrete yet. So they've only poured the foundation for it, and then this is all going to be level and smooth, and then you can bolt down the vehicles directly to here. It looks like that could be the direction they're going. It's hard to tell. It's like, do we have another picture we can look at? Because it might give us another perspective here.
This might be
That'll work. Yeah, I can see it's not further down. It's just, I see it now. It's two rings, it looks like. An inner and outer.
of rebar.
Either rebar or holes. Because I don't think it looks like it's sticking up from this angle now. Because the other angle made it look like it could be sticking up because we were seeing a lot of noise in the image, but it seems to be just like at Massey's. You know how there's a ring on the foundation?
Right.
It looks very similar to that ring, but it doesn't have particular embeds for only booster or only ship pads. It looks like it's just whatever fits.
Right. That makes sense. I really wish they would delete this building and throw up another high bay.
Mega Bay.
Mega Bay. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that would be good.
That's what we want. Cool. Well, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to touch on at the ring yard.
The only thing I would touch on is the ring to the farthest one to the right, and
sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so now I go to the left, and then that one right there. That should be ship 32, just the highest number out there right now, and that's pretty impressive.
I thought that was the one in the bay, 32.
There's parts of ship 32 all over the place.
Okay.
Crazy.
But yeah, that's just one that I had to point out. So the ring watchers have kept track of each and every individual piece, and it's quite in depth, but it's even more up to date than even these photos. They will update all of this each week, and then they'll see another piece of video or another photo that shows one of these rings or pieces moved around, and they'll move it around in their map.
Pretty crazy how many domes are just sitting here waiting to get sleeved. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's one out by the
one big thing. So that flatter dome on the right, it looks to be for a downcomer. No, bottom down right.
This one?
There you go. Further down, because that one's dead.
To the right and down. There you go.
Yeah, that one right there, that one's new, I believe.
Is this? I can't even identify. So I think this one is booster comm dome. You said
that should be a booster common dome.
Okay.
So the common dome on the left, it has the whole sump system, and that actually is pretty nice. I don't know why you would want to do that unless you're having issues with, like, let's say the locks and everything. Yeah, that one. Well, they're both booster common domes, I believe.
Yeah, this is just the old version, right? Yeah.
You can basically see the size for where the sump for the downcomer will be for the rest of it. But I like this particular style, but there might be something where they have an issue of that they do not want to sit the locks and methane against the same common dome, directly liquids on liquids. So in order to have basically a bit of a gap, they might be going for the common dome.
Whoa.
It's flatter on the right.
You think so?
I think so. So that means they can do a little bit more propellant.
Huh.
Or at least that's a theory of what I think they could be doing.
Do you think the methane freezes on the bottom of the tank, like when the LOX tank gets full?
Oh, it's even worse, I think, on the downcomer, because your downcomer is literally for the methane is sitting inside LOX. So you basically have something that will freeze at negative 182 degrees Celsius against the LOX, which is going to be around the negative 200 degrees Celsius mark, or maybe a bit colder than that, because it go up to like negative, what was it, 220 before it freezes solid. And then you're basically trying to densify the at least the LOX side of it. And so you'll start to form a little bit of ice on the downcomer, I would suspect. So there could be some freezing going on.
Well, so the downcomer is pretty thin, though, right? It's not ribbed all the way down like it is it is ribbed all the way down, but it's not like there's. So the stringers in here are they're not touching, but they nearly are touching. You know what I mean? So it's not like the ribs are actually touching on the downcomer, which would give it like a little bit of an offset from the actual LOX tank, right? So it's like literally directly contacting whatever's inside of the LOX tank. So that it's kind of interesting, mostly during like when you're those few minutes while you're sitting there with the tanks full, because like as long as you're transferring methane and also transferring methane into the tanks, then it's still moving. But the moment you stop, I feel like that's the moment where you have to worry about it freezing, at least on the edges.
Well, it's going to have some interesting properties. So the colder stuff is going to sink to the bottom, but when you're launching, the coldest stuff will be at the bottom of the downcomer, and so your ingest of the methane side is pulling that out pretty quickly, especially at launch. So I do wonder if they use the anti-vortex baffles and basically some strainer system in there as well to basically catch any solid methane. Yeah.
Interesting.
If it catches, it'll also break it up.
If I ever get a chance to ask Elon a question, it'll probably be related to that. Probably gonna write that one down. Anyways, so I guess let's head over to the Star Factory.
Who said Jax 3 times, by the way?
What?
Who said Jax 3 times? Because he's in the chat.
Yeah, he's in the chat, but it means nothing to me since he's not here. So.
Oh wow, we're drawing lines. I didn't realize. Okay.
So moving on to the Star Factory, this is a bit of an interesting thing right here that I've noticed. I guess I don't know, Thomas. Maybe you already knew what these were. Let's move a little bit further to the.
Okay, if you hear thunder, I apologize because it is actually thunder and lightning right now here in California.
I can't hear it.
Good. It's really weird. It never happens. I'm freaking out.
That's good. You're getting some rain. You need it.
I don't like thunder.
Yeah, that's not good. It's dry in California, but I hope you get plenty of rain and it continues to rain.
Not slowly. Not a lot at once.
Slowly.
Please.
Nice drizzle every day. You get a little drizzle. Anyways, so those are the AC units right there.
Right. And I mean, now knowing how big they are, so this one's 250 tons, I think. We saw a ground image from it that was pretty nice.
Yeah, go over to the left one image.
Oops.
I'm gonna give you the
one second.
on the overflight. Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna show the little label on the side. I don't know if we did that last week or whatever, but 230 tons. I think this one's actually bigger than the other one. But 230 ton chiller, and that's not the weight of it, that's the actual cooling capacity. So most houses, my house has a 2-ton chiller essentially. So you can imagine how much more area or surface volume, enclosed volume, I guess you can actually cool with this.
So you could do 115 times faster if you got one of these at your place.
Yeah. Do you think this is going on top of the Star Factory?
Yeah, go back to the flyover picture on the Star Factory. I'll show you where I think it's going. So just left one photo. And bottom right corner of the Star Factory, you can see they have what appears to be some AC unit stuff going on over there. Yes. Oh wait, no, those are their own AC units. Sorry.
I think that might be AC for this building.
Yeah, it's just for that building. I'm backwards on that one.
I mean, that would be a big item to put on the roof of this, right?
Either on the roof or down the side of the building. Could go any of those directions.
any preparations for that at all.
Well, you could have it on the front side and the let's say left front and the back right, or so the top left then top right. That could go on the sides, on the outside of the building potentially.
Right. One of the things I've been thinking is that if you look at the Star Factory at KSC, they have much bigger cooling systems, but that's because they're cooling larger sections of the building at one time instead of having 3 rows of these on each building. So I'm wondering if that is like potentially for them to upgrade this one later, or if they're just really going to keep these on here.
Well, so those I would suspect that would be for just this building here. The problem is where you're placing them. So if it's going to be on the left and right, what you want to do is you cool your perimeter, because that is where you have your most heat loss, or actually heat gain in this case. And so they want to reduce that by basically putting your AC units and cooling systems or heating systems around the perimeter. I mean, each house has that. For your windows, let's say, you have the registers in front of the window. It's always on the outside of the perimeter of the house where you typically have it. And then the air input will typically be central to everything else.
Hold on a second. So on the top of the high bay, inside of the high bay, and maybe I even have a ground picture to show this. I want to see what this looks like. So they have their cooling system up in the high bay. I don't know if we're going to be able to see up there or not. These are not. We should be over in the wetlands. Okay, this might get it. Wait, Mega Bay? Mega Bay. Where is the high bay? Oh no! I don't think we have a high bay shot. What's that?
We have the backside of high bay.
Mega Bay again.
Okay, so what I was going to say is, in the top left corner of the high bay, there is a very, very large. Well, I don't know how big it is actually, but it's a cooling system for the upper part of the building. So, given that the Mega Bay's essentially attic, I guess you can call it, or the office space is significantly larger than the high bay, maybe that could actually be going up into the roof of or just below the roof of the Mega Bay, Yeah,
it could go there. The question is just like, what do you need to cool down most? Like, obviously the offices or whatever's going to be up in Mega Bay hasn't been built yet. They don't even have the windows installed.
And that could be why they don't have the windows installed, right? Because they don't have a way of cooling it?
Well, no, it's more likely, I think, that they don't have all their fire safety systems and all the other stuff installed yet, or something along those lines. Because there was a bunch of pipes around there that indicated like water safety systems that just are still sitting around. But anyways, the thing that really is useful to know is each of these buildings, so the tents, the Star Factory, you can see all of the air handling and AC units, and you can even see some chillers outside of the buildings on the ground, but for instance, between tents 2 and 3 here. Yeah, that one. So these tents are kept at about 30 degrees Celsius when they're welding. When they're not welding, I don't think they turn on the AC. But they do that specifically because the stainless steel shrinks and expands depending on what the temperature is. And so you want to have a consistent 30 degrees Celsius for all of your welding operations, because you could be off by inches if you do it for, let's say, the circumference of the ring. It'll be off by potentially inches if you're going from a really hot temperature outside and you bring in a ring and it's really cold inside on the tent. You're in a really bad situation there.
Yeah. And we just passed the 2:00 hour, so I want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, do us a favor and hit that like button. We really appreciate all of you doing that every week. I know it's a little bit difficult to get that finger over there and hit the like button, but it definitely helps us out as far as with the YouTube algorithm. And I don't know, I feel like it's actually working because we have had a consistently larger audience lately. So I feel like that part of that is due to you guys helping us out in that way. So we really appreciate all of you doing so.
Yes, we do.
And also want to thank everybody for all the donations. And on that note, Andy, did we have any more that we wanted to touch on really quick?
Oh, yes. And one more thing, we have to thank Victoria. She has very discerning taste, I have to say. John Dopker's little Victoria wanted to let you know, Mr. CSI Starbase, that you are one of her favorite voices that she enjoys listening to. And for
Who?
the donations. We have a donation actually from John Dopker for $5 and says, still going strong. Give Sonny a hug for me. And Mauricio acknowledged and said he would. And I believe those are the donations that we have so far. Yeah, that's it so far.
Thank you, everybody. So before you move on to the other images,
Ooh, one more. James
Oh.
L, $20. Blast off March 15th, 24/7. Those are that's his crow right there, ladies and gentlemen.
he said what date for he thinks the
March
launch?
15th, and he thinks it'll be Booster 7, Ship 24.
I hope
We're
so.
going to
Otherwise,
quote you on that, James L.
He
We
said,
will
I
have
hope so.
Crow ready for you.
Yeah, my date. I'm around like March 27th ish.
on March 24th.
Yeah,
I'm July.
You're the
I'm
pessimist in the group.
yeah, I'm gonna explain why I think this when we get to the launch site. Thomas will have some opinions as well too. But really quickly, Thomas, you wanted to touch something on this image.
Yes.
I'm guessing you were talking about this right here because
Yeah. So the simple thing is we are having massive cleanups all over the site. There's a new sheriff in town, and I think Elon's back in town, possibly.
I
So
liked it dirty.
Is she still a new sheriff, though? She's been around now a while.
right, but like she being here has gotten a lot of things cleaned up recently, all over.
Right, because the
The place.
boss has arrived, for sure. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about that.
Yeah. So like Elon, he's the engineer. She is all business.
She's
So,
the boss.
Yeah, Gwen Shotwell is definitely very much in charge of these kinds of things. So this entire area has been cleared out. You can see that they've stored all the stainless steel rings just above here, next to low bay or just to the left of the windbreak. So there has just been so much going on as far as cleaning up, and then even off to the far right when you get a chance there, Zach, you
Oh,
can show
sorry.
that later.
You said to the far right.
Yeah, so yeah, you can show the stainless steel rings if you want on the racks. It's crazy.
Oh, up here.
Yeah. So then zoom in all the racks above that as well. Yeah. So
Oh,
each one of those
that's
weighs
fun.
around like 10, 13 tons, somewhere around there.
So that's a strong rack.
Yeah. And they've got all the stainless steels to the left. It's showing that they're really moving their inventory, getting that site, particularly down there, prepped and ready probably for concrete, and maybe even an area for like unloading the stainless steel rings just directly off the trailers with a forklift. So that'd be nice.
Are you thinking that they're gonna pave all this? Because it almost looks like they're
prepping to.
Get a little parking lot on the backside of the Star Factory.
Yeah, and then if you go off to the far right of the Star Factory, we've got a couple of things there you can mention as well. So there's that little nose cone that's missing. Whole lot of heat shield tiles in those boxes. So there's a tiny little nose cone. Oh, it's still there.
One.
Darn. But yeah, this entire area has been cleaned up. The entire area for the scrapyard.
It's just the tip.
It's just the tip there. But the rest of this has all been cleaned up.
These
almost-
are where all of the
shipping containers over at
shipping
Sanchez
containers.
are at.
Okay, so
Exactly.
is that the new scrapyard then at Sanchez?
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Could be, but this is a better area, I think, so far.
Well, I mean, if they want to store like completed boosters or something somewhere, then this would be a good spot to do that.
Unless they're doing another mega bay right there.
Well, that would be okay. Hold on, we would.
You guys are blowing
I feel
each
like we
other's
would
minds.
see that. We would see signs. Somebody would find the building permit long before it happened, right?
No. Not necessarily, because they can call it whatever they want.
Well,
Yeah, the
still-
building permits they take a while for us to find them typically.
Well, I feel like we've found a lot of them before they actually start on things. Like we found the one for the
Inventory tent.
inventory tent before they started on
But
it.
they
so-
didn't call it the inventory tent. Didn't they call it some wacky thing, and didn't they have the measurements incorrect?
Yeah, but
It was the
still
inventory
knew.
tent.
Well, what was the one that had the incorrect measurements?
inventory tent. It said 400,000 instead of 40,000. As far as the square footage, that was what was on the documentation. So it's a bit high, and I don't know if they're going to be taxed for that, but
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this area. I mean, it could just be more ring storage because I don't know. Maybe they don't have enough over there anymore, but I have a feeling this whole area is about to change. So
one other thing.
Yeah.
Same photo, just below your mouse. We talked about this at Massey's. There's those little pieces of rock. This is another description of trying to clean things up, so you can see that
it's doing the
collected some
job.
stuff. Yeah, the silty stuff is up at the top. You can tell. It's just
Yeah.
mud.
Interesting.
Okay, now we can move on. Go to the integration side or shipyard, because I think that's most of it.
Cool. I'll just swing over to the ground fab building really quick because there may be some items over there actually.
I think it's funny that it's called the ground fab building. It sounds very like modern in California.
I guess I could call it ground fabrication.
Or pizza oven.
I don't think the oven's in there anymore. It's moved.
No, it's at the door right there. It's opened up.
That's why it's called the pizza oven.
Oh yeah, good point. I forgot about that. So we have a new work stand. I think this is for nose cones, flat nose cones, possibly.
No, nose cones would not be flat like that. This would be
or not nose
flatter
cones.
dome.
Sorry, I meant common domes.
Yeah, flatter domes, something like
Yeah.
that. That's a new jig and assembly system. It looks like. So Star Factory is getting some new parts, probably.
I almost wish that they would get rid of the pointy nose on the Starship because then they would actually have more, capacity up there.
Well, according to Jax, many people think that because they put tiles on the nose cone, it's not pointy anymore. So you kind of get your wish.
Nah, I'm talking about something like, a blunt nose like this would be interesting because you would drastically increase the amount of
drag.
Payload that you're able to carry.
Yeah, but you would also increase your drag. How would you get out to max Q? You'd have to have way more thrust.
I think Elon said that the aerodynamic effects were negligible.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so he made it pointier because of the movie The Dictator, because he wanted a pointier rocket. So Elon decided, I'm going to make mine a little bit pointier. So it's just a tiny bit pointier, and aerodynamically, negligibly, it's a little bit less efficient. But
wait, but if you look at what he just circled, there's a big difference.
Yeah, that would be very blunt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like this much. I'm just saying it would be. I would like to see that happen at some point because then you'd have much less taper on the nose cone. But yeah. Anyways,
but what would be the purpose of that? To make the
more payload space?
Because interesting. Okay.
Well, I would love to see in that case a common dome basically for the LOX header tank, and then below it directly basically a half shell, kind of like a flatter dome, but it goes directly to the outside of the nose cone, and that way you have the materials reused, and you are going through and increasing the volume for your payloads.
Wait, what? I didn't catch that, but that's okay. Go on.
Well, you're basically decreasing the usable payload volume because of the header tank being below the methane header tank be a sphere below the LOX header tank is a problem. Oh, these are actually big new pieces that I had not seen.
Yeah, no idea what they are though.
Look how tall they are. Look at the shadow they cast.
They look like pieces that would go for they connect together, you can tell. Oh, that's so strange.
The big cross thing, is that load balancer?
Load spreader, yeah.
Sorry. The one that we see in the high bay or mega bay with the cranes?
No, that one's much beefier than this. This is for like just rings or something.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll keep an eye on those and see what they end up using them for.
But they're stage 0 gray, Zach.
I know. That's why I zoomed in on them. I was like,
wait, is that what we call them?
Plates
Stage
and
0
everything.
gray?
Like, what would they? I just can't think of what these would be used for. These actually look similar to something else I've seen on the inside of the table, or or I guess the inside edge of the table, they've added a lot of plating on there. But I think these are a little bit too large for that. I don't know.
Well, look at the stainless steel, like stainless or glass window, like, or what is that called? Sorry, I can't remember the.
What are you trying to say? Describe it.
It's just a window that's like stained glass window right there, but it's
Where?
made of stainless steel. The way that it looks, all those tiny little pieces that are
Oh.
triangles
To you, it looks like a
above
stained
it.
grass?
These?
Yeah. It's like
Oh, it looks like
stained glass
Stumpy's
pieces,
picture
gotcha.
thing.
yeah, it's crazy how they have all these little tiny pieces and triangles everywhere.
Hmm.
They
Ought to
have
be,
matches for each one
see,
of them.
these things where, like, when they appear, sometimes we actually can go back and be like, oh wow, so that's what that was. But oftentimes we
should
never
do
really
that.
actually figure them out. But
Yeah, you
Well,
do. You guys
We
always
oftentimes
do.
do.
You always
sometimes
do.
with the smaller structures, it's a little bit more difficult to go back and find them sometimes. But unless you're just constantly looking for it until it appears. But we'll keep our eyes on that one.
But I think that's the key with so many people, because somebody or the other remembers them, even if it's not the first person who saw it. So I feel like we always do kind of circle back around, because you guys are spot on, man. Between all of you, it's an interesting thing to just sit here and watch the ride sometimes.
Hey, trying our best every day.
You make it look effortless. You really do.
It's
So we
not.
start with the big piece right here on this image.
The big piece, this big piece.
Yeah. So this was something that I think we talked about. They talked about last Saturday, but you have two roads. There's the one that's been paved.
Oh, this one.
Right there. Yeah. So you've got that, and then you've got the one
cul-de-sac.
that's the cul-de-sac and everything.
Why?
That's amazing.
Why a cul-de-sac though?
Well, because it's the end of the road, and
Because they're going to build more things around it.
yeah. Well, now you could like put a park on either side or something. We've got a trailer park on the right, so that works.
It's
I
funny
guess
because
maybe if you need like guest parking or something like that. I don't know.
somebody in the chat said SpaceX's favorite word is why. And you were like, why?
Yeah, it's just. I mean, even for a cul-de-sac, it's a small one too. So
And it's very spherical. Which
Yeah,
is,
your mouse is on John Street.
this is John Street.
Yeah, at least Google says it's John Street. And then there's a road that's parallel to that, even further south, that you can kind of see further to the right. You can see that road is over. So yeah, there you go. There's a road that goes right here.
This?
Yeah, right there, exactly. The bizarre thing is that one piece on the right, it shows up for that lot. No, just the one that one's SpaceX, but no, down. Sorry,
Oop.
there you go. That one shows as I think it was Brownsville Catholic Diocese or something like that.
ooh, they're not going to be able to touch it then.
Well, I think that SpaceX now either has a lease on that particular parcel, or that they have purchased it, and that the map has not been updated yet.
Yeah. If you want to know what SpaceX does and doesn't own,
Ask Thomas.
no, everything that's not currently graded right now is not owned by SpaceX.
Oh, they have a bunch of other parcels to the right as well.
They do own these ones. Some of these ones.
Some parcels in there, yeah.
Okay.
But another part is that there is this kind of weird shape that on the north, or the top end of this, where you can see that they have, I don't know, it's just a weird shape that is not square. The reason why is basically it's part of the same reason why you have the weird shape at the launch site. It's lowlands or something like that. There is either an area that has water that was running through it, like a little stream, and you can actually see where people and animals may have actually been traveling. It's on the
You're
right
talking
side.
about this?
No, the right side. So the top of this, you see how it kind of has these weird angles, and
Oh,
they kind of
right here.
not that part. The same big piece that we're talking about. So go to the left with your mouse until you hit that silt fence line.
This
That
right here.
one right there, yeah. So that must be a low area. You can see that the tracks have gone through there from left to right all the way through, and so they've avoided those spots.
How do you know it's left to right?
Well, no. Say from where his mouse is at, from left all the way to the right, continue along that silt fence line. Directly on the silt fence line and all the way to the right, you can see that there is depressions in there. Not all the way over there. That's the left.
No, I was moving over.
Yeah, Zach, that's the left.
So we also have these foundations for these buildings. Looks like they poured these two. Got two more to pour here soon, but ton of building material has shown up. So it looks like there will be knocking those new houses out rather quickly. Wow, these ones have their backyard set up now too.
Yeah, and then on the left one of those three houses, you can see they've got the septic system being installed there.
Wait, a table means their backyard is set up now?
I mean, they have fences and whatnot.
Oh, like the
And it's
plot of
got
land
grass.
is... Okay.
So this is a rather large septic system for
For one house?
for one house. This almost looks like three, like an apartment, would have that.
Well, it's only that one because the... actually, hold on. I can't tell because those other two are water tanks that are black.
Let me get us a better image.
Wait, what are they anticipating a large group of people living there? I mean, do you do it like that? Is that how you build a septic area in the backyard? Like the entire yard is the tank?
It's a leach field.
This is weird.
So it's just larger, I guess, than I would expect for... Well, I mean, I guess the important thing is to have it cover the entire yard instead of just part of it.
Wait, is that supposed to be like that, though? It's supposed to cover an entire backyard? Like, you literally play on septic tanks?
Well, you just don't eat the grass. I mean, that's the thing.
What happens when it bursts?
So mostly that's just water anyways at this end.
Sorry, Mauricio. Go ahead, Mauricio.
No, I was just going to say that. I know some people grow crops on that setup right there.
Wait.
Nice.
Meaning on the septic tanks?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you get natural fertilizer.
But go up to the right. There's some more of this.
Oh yeah,
stuff
we got the other houses up here, which we're thinking are model homes potentially.
But the thing that doesn't make sense is the water to the bottom left.
Yeah, so
there's water, and it looks like power.
Why is that? Doesn't make sense. Why doesn't that make sense?
Because it no longer looks like it's model homes because they're actually have a decent water supply for all of them.
Or maybe it's just the one, and it's like you want to use the bathroom, and
you go to
that
this one.
might be the one. Yeah.
So it's like an outhouse. They all have to use the same trailer for the restrooms. That I wouldn't want to live in that situation.
Well, no. It's just a show home. If these are show homes, the bottom left one could be that it's like this is where water, and you would also have like a septic tank as well, but I don't see it yet.
Or the office, you mean? Because it looks like a different trailer altogether as well.
Yeah.
They're all different. Yeah, I mean, every one of them is different. That's kind of why we were thinking that they might be model homes because they're just giving them the ability to go in and see what they do and don't want.
Well, the decking's all different on each one, and
yeah, interesting.
Very, very interesting.
All right. Well, let's move a little bit further to the north. Thomas, you said you saw a good picture of the hovercraft in action this week?
Yes, it was on the ground photos, specifically when he was out at the mud flats. There's a picture of the hovercraft at that point, and I have not seen any pictures so far that were really detailed like that. I've only seen one video of it with a drone from a distance. It was a really good shot, but this is amazing. You can see it's just full of people.
How can you tell it's full of people? All I see is darkness and yellowness. I get that there's
people.
4 people, but is it full of people?
It looks like there's probably at least a dozen people in there.
Really?
Yeah. You can see the about 5 or 6 people in the front right, and then you can see some people in the back in the shadows as well.
All right. Well, let's move back to that aerial view. And then we'll head over to the launch site once we get through here. But I don't think there's really much happening over in this area. It's been pretty dead. It looks like they're actually potentially adding more cranes to the inside of this building. But that looks like several of them, so I don't know.
Well, it could be used in tandem like a gantry or maybe even a bridge crane.
Right. I mean, the one that's in here has the ability to slide back and forth across the building, so I don't know. Maybe they're doing that much work in there that they need another one. But actually, you can see the width of it here. Let's.
Yeah, it's about the same width of the building.
Yeah.
Could they be making another building?
Nothing says that yet.
I don't have one from that angle that would show it. This is actually the best picture that we have. So, but this is the actual beam that goes across, right?
I wouldn't doubt that in the future that they would want to extend this building or do something, but unfortunately, this area right where this stuff is at is a paper road, so it's basically Brownsville property right there, or Cameron County property.
All right.
Well, the big thing right there to the right, we've got the Pez loader right there, the Pez box.
Busy doing nothing.
That's a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
Hurry up and wait.
I heard it made a beeline to the build site a couple days ago. I don't know if it's still there or not.
I would love to know what they're doing with that when they don't have any actual loading to do. But it's still like going back and forth. All right. Well, let's move over to the launch site, everyone. It's that time.
Yay!
We are going to obviously start with the Suborbital site, which looks pretty nice today. It was a great day for a flyover. But as we all know, Ship 25 was taken off. So Mauricio caught it just as it was being lifted onto the transport stand. Actually, I think it was already on the transport stand at this point, and it was still just holding on to it while they installed all the pressurization system. So yeah, 25 is now at Massey's, and 26 has it been taken off yet?
Not yet, as far as I know, but somebody could probably tell us in chat.
Yeah, it's probably coming off here momentarily. We know that it's sitting there waiting to be lifted off currently, or maybe already off. But other than that, we have...
Still there. Just check. NerdleCam still has it there, yeah.
Okay, cool.
This always happens. We'll be in the middle of the stream and they just decide, we're going to go ahead and lift.
Yeah, I'm glad that hasn't happened today, so we're good. But it looks like they're finally about to finish up the rest of this berm. They got this little the curb, I guess, for the backside of it.
That'd be the foundation for the backside that they would start off with.
Is it level?
All the way across, it should be level.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it looks like we'll see them complete the rest of this here soon. Not really in a rush because they didn't do a static fire with 25 like we were all hoping. So it was kind of weird, actually, to have 25 come out here and not do a static fire.
Well, I think this is good news in a sense that they're trying to clean up the area. They do not want Ship 26 or 25 in a vulnerable position when 24/7 launches. So, I mean, that's coming up soon, I hope. And I think that is part of the implication of what might be going on. So they've been cleaning up other areas of the site, especially towards the launch site. And this could be implying that as well. So as I mentioned before, that Massey's, that Ship 25, it looks like it's going to be used for storage for a bit, and then they're going to do some crowd testing to commission the system. Might as well do it on a vehicle that you might not be flying with, but could still fly with later on. So it's really strange. It's that 25, it's flight ready almost. It just needs to static fire and verify that system. But for whatever reason, I think they're going to skip it.
It sucks that they, switched out the QDs on the ships, or they redesigned it, because they could just use Ship 20, which is really good at being used for a trash can.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's anything else that we need to really cover at the suborbital side. Everything else interesting is really happening over on the other side of the launch site.
I was just going to tell you that pile is moved around quite a bit over each week. No. The pile of stuff, the junk up
this
above.
One.
Yeah. So they will go through and access the areas in there constantly. So you'll see these aisles form, and then the aisles suddenly get filled up. It's entertaining to go through and see that each week. So typically right where that flatbed truck is at, you'll see that area specifically. An aisle will appear and then disappear. Yeah, right in there. Anyways.
That'd be super annoying. All right. Well, let's move over to the left a little bit. To the tank farm. Oh, so we got a lot happening over at the tank farm this week. I kind of want to start from a better angle. So, this one is good. It shows us the whole thing. So first of all, we have a random ditch being dug here. connecting these two buildings. So I'm guessing this is they're just running power to this building. I wonder if they've actually been using this, or if they just built it and haven't actually been using it yet. Like, because I never see the doors open on it. But they are running, it looks like, additional power to that building. I really would have thought it would have already been down there, but I guess not. And as we've talked about in previous episodes, they've got these two pipes that are coming across the wall, and they're actually apparently about to add a third, which we'll show in a little bit. But the interesting thing about what's been happening back here is we now know what it's going to connect to. Well, at least we know where it's connecting, not necessarily what it is.
I've got some ideas on that.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
So I'm thinking we're looking at water pipe as well as a nitrogen pipe. So liquid nitrogen coming in on one side, and we've got two vaporizers off to the right. Those are brand new. And so what I think is going to go on is that they're going to try to use the liquid nitrogen to pressurize the lines, and then they won't wrap it because they want to pressurize that side anyway. So you'll probably see it always frosted up. And what I'm kind of thinking is that they're going to be doing water stations, and that these particular shipping containers are pumps. So these two would be pumps to continue the pushing the water down the pipe, and you'd basically have trucks back into it. That's my current working theory. And there would be let's say the pipes that are in front of the methane side of the fuel farm, where you have the electric motors, specifically the pumps. There's an outlet that's facing towards the road. I think that's going to be going directly down from there, and there'll be a way to deliver water from that side. But the other side of it is that they will have like another connection for the water trucks that will basically be nitrogen gas going into the water truck to push even more, so they can basically get those water trucks in and out very quickly. At least that's my working theory. So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part about this is that the vaporizers appear to be running to the methane tanks. I mean, it is possible that there is a nitrogen line in here because, well, they have to use nitrogen to purge out the methane lines if they ever need to do that. So there's a nitrogen line running underneath this. But I don't know. Let's see if we can see it from the front a little better. Actually, Mauricio did a really good shot, like almost directly over it. So this might show it.
Yeah, there's lines going to it from the left and I think from the top. It's harder to see if there's a line right there where your mouse just passed. Right there, yeah.
Looks like it's coming down through here.
But then you've got lines to the left as well.
The one that is going to the...
Yeah, it's the same width of thickness. It's really confusing.
It almost looks like they're vaporizing methane so they can send it to something that requires methane to run off of.
Maybe generators or pumps.
Pumps, right. I mean, I guess one thing I've been expecting to see is, if they have a giant water tank over here, then they may just need to transfer from like the other two water tanks to that one. So instead of having to fill both sides up, you just only fill up these water tanks and then you transfer it over to this one. I mean, that maybe that's a little bit more difficult than it needs to be, because you could potentially just have trucks actually come over here and constantly fill it up. But I feel like the better way, as far as keeping less traffic in here, is probably with keeping all your offloads outside over here. Only your dangerous offloads, which is methane, will be in here. But I don't know. I guess I could see this being a pump station as well, or an offload station.
Well, you might still be getting that correct as well. There is water lines directly below that shipping container closest to us that were for the fire suppression system at the landing pad where this is now at. So there's a massive concrete block.
Oh, it should be right in here, right?
Yeah, right in the center of that pad, right basically at the edge of where this comes out. So that could be a way of routing the water. You still have one of the fire extinguishers is still there to the right.
Is this it?
Yeah. But if you cap that off and you're not using that, You now have a direct path around this. It's just a small little pipe, but it'd be kind of
That'll be
useful
the
for
slowest transfer system ever.
yeah. Well, you could do high pressure and blow some lines, but hey, that'd be fun.
Yeah, like we're ready to launch again. Now we got to wait for that water to fill up. Um, all right. Well, yeah, that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on that. There's other cool things happening over here at the tank farm, which I thought were interesting. They're really cleaning up everything in a different way. So, we have the insulation on this tank over here. Let's go back to that overhead view. And there's probably a good ground view of this too. But so they've started insulating, or not, this isn't insulating, but basically protecting the insulation on this tank, which is really cool. They did it to the water line as well too, which I thought was odd because it's just a black iron pipe. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done it to this one right here for the methane. I think this is methane return right here. They haven't. Oh no, methane return is down here. So yeah, they haven't covered up this one or any of the other, the big lines for the liquid oxygen. But I have a feeling that the same thing that they're doing to this tank right here, they are preparing to do to the LOX ones. So I think that they will be covering it in that same material. And I'm really not sure how they apply that. If it's just like a roll and they just roll it around. But it's very interesting. And let's see if we have a ground shot of it.
Yeah, that looks very labor intensive. I've seen them working on that for quite a while.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
Oh, wow. These are like actual steel plates. So I wonder if they have to actually weld these. Because those look like weld lines.
Is that brazing that they're doing?
What is brazing?
Well, it's a type of welding.
Okay.
I mean, I can't tell if this is done on site or if they just brought the cap in and put the cap over it.
Well, the funny thing is that weird shape in the center. It's like they're going all out with that shape there.
I think that may just be to like give it extra support in the center or something like that over the cap. Or who knows, maybe they'll put another layer on top of this for some reason. Whoa. Is that a whole rib going around?
Looks like it.
Two. One behind it, too.
Why? I don't know. I don't think there's pipes going over that. There might be. Let's look at it from the air one more time.
It could be that it's the pneumatics. So those are pretty thin, and it might be protecting those. Oh, there's 4 of them.
Oh, wow. Oh, wait. Did this tank have compression bands on it?
I'd have to go back and look at previous pictures here.
Yeah, I'm not going to go grab those older images, but that's probably what it is, just covering up those compression bands or whatever. But yeah, so I have a feeling they're going to. They don't need to do that to the methane ones. They leave those uninsulated. But I think they're about to do that to the LOX side, which is good because the flame does come over this, and so if you don't want to have to worry about replacing this at some point, or it actually ended up looking all black and burnt, then it's a good idea to actually cover them up. So it looks like they'll be starting that soon. And I don't know if they're going to do these ones, but they haven't started setting up scaffolding around that yet. But I think these are just things that are on the list of items that they want to get done before orbital. So, once these are done, I would say we're like closer. I don't expect them to just do this halfway. You know what I mean? Like it seems like they're to some degree getting over those days where they're doing things half. I guess I don't know. I don't know how to say the word in a PC way on here.
Not completing their projects to the level that they should be.
Yes, exactly. So they're even doing. It looks like they're about to do the rest of this pipe here too. So.
By the way, I do have an image if you want to pull it up of how it used to look for those that particular heat exchanger.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, but it's just kind of interesting. It does have those, I guess you could say, ribs beforehand that basically help protect it, and structurally, like it's the bands. Yeah, there you go. It's actually a few more than we could actually see from the overview or the flyover, because it's the shadows are not quite as good. Like this one's really good on the shadows.
Is
Man,
this
that's a lot of work though with that custom. I mean, it's like a custom shell. It's not like wrapping it. That's an actual like manufactured shell.
Well, it kind of makes sense because that is the direction that the flames kind of go with
Right.
the launch of the vehicle.
Sure.
But the one problem is they also go to the right.
With these tanks?
Yeah, yeah. Those tanks specifically on the two on the left are the
Oops.
ones that are
These.
kind of taller.
Oh, yeah,
What
the ones
is-
that have no protection. I'm gonna go back to that other image.
Oh,
so-
weird. I was like, is that a beetle on his camera? No, that's just rust on the top of the tank, and it just looks weird.
Hold on, let's see. Yeah, these were looking pretty bad.
Yeah, that was
At least
looking
this
pretty
one.
bad right there. Yeah.
You see where the flame just came across it. I mean, it could be worse, you know. Could be worse. I'm still glad they took the speaker off the top of that. So that's a plus. I am curious if they're going to cover these ones, but these are kind of already just a shell like these. You know, in a way, they're kind of turning that into what this is, because I'm sure there's a layer of insulation in the inside of this. So
Undoubtedly. And the same thing on those two on the left. There is
Right.
some amount. I've always guessed it's about like 14 inches of insulation, but it could be less or more.
oh wow, that's a lot. All right. Well, I don't know if we have any other updates from the launch complex, or sorry, not launch complex, but the tank farm.
Oh, there is one, but it's actually back at the inventory tent. So one thing to look at is on the far right next to the
Inventory tent.
Yeah, get that ready. But on the top right, we've got currently the LOX pump, just the pump mechanism itself. At
Oh.
the inventory tent, we've got another. So
But this is the methane pump.
yeah, but that's a methane pump, but it's another pump. So
Is this
that's what I was
new?
going for. Yeah, that's pretty new apparently.
It
'Cause it wasn't there
moved-
last time.
It wasn't moved from the launch site to here.
I don't think so. It could be that it was over next to the shipping containers, and they moved it inside of a building or something because it wasn't visible.
This looks even smaller than the methane pumps that are in there.
That should be a methane pump, though.
It just looks way too small. Yeah, let's look back at the other one.
Yeah, the one thing you don't see is like shipping containers or anything else to judge that off of, because this is going to be a LOX pump, which is going to be longer and it has the bigger stem.
Right. But it's only longer by like this amount in here, like one. It has the same amount of turbines, and then there's an offset in here, so it's not that much. It's like it's taller, but it's not that much taller. I don't know. The other one seems way shorter.
Well, the LOX pump is going to be taller and it's going to be wider. It pulls more volume
Right.
than the methane ones do.
All right. So, yeah, and I thought we had one over here, but I guess because they had the motor, I thought the pump was over here as well too. So that's why I was thinking maybe they just moved it from this area back over to the Sanchez site.
Could be. I didn't see it over here from the last week, but I didn't see that pump over there last week either. So
Right. All right. Well, let's move over to the launch site, or not the launch site, but the actual launch pad. But I guess we'll actually start on the landing pad because we still have a ton of panels laying outside of here, but we can see that they've actually started installing these. And this might actually be better for us to look at. Oh, hey, look at that. We have the HPUs, which have now been installed. But they, at this point in time, had no panels on this side of the launch mount. But since then, I think we're only missing. Well, actually, I haven't counted yet. We'll see it. We'll see in the ground images. But at this time, they had about 5 of them installed. And yeah, they're going all the way around it. And really, the only thing left once they finish this is going to be to protect the cryotubes underneath. So let's go ahead and look at this from the ground because I think that's the best way to talk about this.
last I checked, it was 9 out of the 18. May have been more than that now. And that was as of like Friday afternoon.
So these things are pretty hefty. You can see that. I mean, I don't know how to judge this, but I'm guessing this is at least 1.5 inches, if not 2 inches, right here for the top plate. But one of the important details to note here is that before they put these on, so like right now they actually kind of look like they're mounted. You know what I mean? They're not being held, like what we can't see them being held on by anything. I'm sure there is something on the inside pulling them inwards. But when we look at like how they prepared the surfaces before they placed these on here, you can see that they shaved away all of this. So I do believe that almost all of these are being temporarily held on right now, and they're going to have to do a very, very large amount of welding on this. So Thomas did some calculations, and so we have like a base idea of like the length of weld that has to be completed. So we'll talk about that. But I mean, just to explain this, actually, let me show from the aerial view really quick.
Go back to the aerial view and then also look at the landing pad because that is also a critical spot.
Well, when you I guess just looking at this, you can see that like this the entire perimeter of this will have to be welded, and that could just be a single weld or it could be 3 because sometimes you just do one in the center on the actual joining point. I don't know what you want to call that, the vertex, and then you do another one to the left, another one to the right, so then you have actual 3 welds. Depending on how thick that material is, it could be necessary to do that, and that gives you a little bit more of an actual radius on your weld. And you can see that right here on the actual the canopy plates. They have another plate that goes in between them, and that was what they used to close up the gaps in there. So I don't know. I feel like it's unreasonable to expect them to do anything other than what they did when they welded those caps on.
You just brought up something on my measurements that now I have to kind of double it because you could do basically the top side and the bottom side, and I forgot about that.
Yes, so
I need to double my
top and bottom.
My measurement there.
But also, if this essentially this plate in the center right here, I'm assuming there'll be another one that comes down on the outside of this.
Yeah, go to the landing pad, the overflight view, the flyover view, because it has some of those plates.
Oh, okay.
But so the number that I now have to have revised, because this is a working number, this would be about 1,200 feet of the area that they would have to weld if they're going to do the inside and the outside for the welds. The problem is it depends on like how many people you have on the project all at once. So it's a top right next to the shipping containers, I think. This is a bit different view than I was expecting.
Let me see if I can look at it from this side. Oh, okay. Let me try something else. Just give me 1 second. Trying to find a good image. This will probably do it.
There we go. So you can see them now.
Where?
Next to the ship container.
These?
Yeah. They're just bundled and stacked together.
They look a little... Okay, here's the short ones and there's the long ones.
Yeah. At least that's what I assume based off this photo, and it appears to work out. But the problem is like how many people you have working on it. You can basically make that divisible. But if it's like an optimal method, it's like, what was it? I was looking at 3/8 of an inch thickness, so we're probably at least half an inch, if not more. Maybe we're closer to an inch on the thickness of some of these steel plates. You're going to do multiple passes for each of those because you're going to add fillet welds, which even increases the length of the feet even more. But the bad news is it's going to take a lot longer for the welding operations. They're going to be doing full bore welding, I suspect. So you're going to probably spend maybe half a dozen or a dozen guys directly at this project to just weld all of these pieces. Where, as I said, the feet that I have is about 400 feet. So 400 feet of just the perimeter of these that need to be welded. But it's like, how many passes do you need?
Yeah, and you know what I'm expecting? I'm expecting. Okay, so first, because they have this walkway under here, so this is the scaffolding. Number one has been allowing them to attach the rest of these because there were still some of these missing. I think they're actually they've been welding these on all week as well too. So they have to tack all them into place, and they actually weld all of them down. But they're gonna also have to weld underneath the bottom side of this to attach it to the bottom plate of the cover. And then I think once they do that, they'll probably increase the height of this scaffolding to go all the way up here, so they can do this weld. I mean, unless they want to do all of them using the man lifts, like that is an option as well too. But I mean, it's far more stable just having scaffolding going all the way up. But yeah, that is a lot of welding.
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff got tacked in place, and then they are doing the inside specifically. So it's easier to just stand on a ladder, work on the inside on that the inside of the fillet where you can't see it, but it would be what you can see on the right where they've removed some of the paint.
Yeah, and like back in here.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is, in my opinion, I don't see this being any less than a 3 to 4 week job.
Well, it's about 400 hours of work at least if you're just doing the first pass. So you have to divide that, and that's the minimum number. If you're going to increase that number for the number of fillets, that goes up.
Yeah, it's a lot. And the other thing to consider after that is the way that these are built. It looks like there will be these are part of the actual mounting point for whatever goes underneath this. So that is going to be interesting to see how they do that. But it does look to me like the final thing will be to protect this. And the reason to not do it first is because they needed to get all of these mounting tabs welded in there first. So once this covers on, then they can do the stuff that's in the middle. And I don't know. I feel like they've taken a lot of risks in the past, and I also feel like maybe they're done doing that, and that they'll actually 100% get all of this stuff attached the way it's supposed to be. And that's why when I hear dates that are earlier than at least March 20th, it's hard for me to take them seriously. What are your thoughts on that, Thomas?
I'm in the same camp. I'm going out there early because of airfare, and I'm going to be visiting my sister in Houston. But as soon as it's ready, I'm going to be right down there in Boca and be like, okay, let's fly it. It's going to be like another week.
But the cool thing about all of this is that this is going to look amazing when it's done. Like when I painted it for the first time, it's going to look really cool. Once they have the whole thing completed and paint the entire structure, like that'll be pretty awesome to see. I'm interested to see like if they put something on the places where there are no like actual cryo tubes, like if they want to protect the water tubes or not. I don't know if that's necessary. Probably a good idea, but yeah, I mean, this is something, and I've said this multiple weeks in a row, but just literally waited over a year to see this happen. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff they needed to do before they could start covering it up, which makes a ton of sense. But I'm just glad that it's actually happening, because I think a lot of people, well, I know a lot of people just said that was not going to happen straight up. So I feel relieved that they've done this.
Do you want to jump on to another area just to the left there? Same area, but just the stairs. That one's really unusual.
I think I got a better view right here.
That looks good, yeah. Oh, that is so crazy.
That's hilarious. So, I mean, I've been expecting something like this for a while. I just didn't know what it would actually end up looking like. And this is going to be really interesting to see if they also have to cover this as well, too. I mean, I feel like this is almost more in danger than the actual stairs up here, which we definitely know that they're going to cover all of this. But yeah, this is basically a new little staircase that allows them to access the work platform up there. I would love to see if there's a ladder in here to climb up. This would be really cool to access the bottom of the booster this way.
Well, it's going basically to that what was it called?
BART?
BART, yeah. But basically, it's that whole elevated surface. It goes up directly to that, so that they no longer need to use boom lifts or scissor lifts to go up and down and get in there, or go and climb up and go down a ladder, and it's all really weird and tight. Like this one, it works. You go up the stairs and you're there.
Is this a ladder here?
No, that's the stairs.
Those are still stairs.
I think, yeah, but they're. Oh, that's a weird angle that we're looking at it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here trying to change my angle of looking at it, but yeah, very interesting. And another interesting part that we've seen, which I guess we kind of forgot to mention when we were talking about the shielding, is we now know that this is not just going to be like an open hole here for the stairs, that they're actually, the shielding will go around the stairs. This would make me really claustrophobic walking up this, I would say. But just looking at the aerial view really quick, there is a special section right here. And so this one will go around that actual staircase. And then we have two sections right here. So this one and this one, which are the short ones, which will go right up against the booster QD. So let's go back to that ground image. Can't see the booster QD. Yeah, so those last few pieces will go right in here, which is going to be interesting. I wonder, this whole shape in here, I've always thought was interesting, because if you ever want to put something up against it, it's going to look kind of awkward. But yeah, I imagine these will be the last pieces added on.
Whatever you do, they have to allow the entire back assembly to come off, because if they need to replace the QD hose or anything else, it's going to take kind of an effort to unbolt everything and bring everything down, and that's the only way to do it.
Right. And I would say that it's pretty safe to say that we know for sure that they will cover the cryo tubes.
They covered the bottom of them just the other day.
Wait, what?
So, yeah, go to the bottom left. The bottom of the cryo tubes on the QD system.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. That's what I was coming to show.
Yeah, you can see it right there, yeah.
I wanted to get maybe this is a better view. So much stuff out here. So, yeah, they added this piece on, which is gigantic. I mean, look at this guy down here. So you can see how much they've shaved off here. I imagine that's another pretty heavy weld. I wonder how they're going to do the inside of it.
You get a guy with a ladder and go in the inside.
Climb in there.
Yeah.
That would suck. But yeah, they're going to have to do all the way around this. And this whole large piece just protects the split between the cryotubes as they come out. But the reason that we know for sure that they will cover these cryotubes is with the way that they've been relocating all of the vents and stuff. So you can see these vents right here are pushed out away from the actual structure. So more than likely, we will see a full shield going all the way down. It's going to be beautiful. This integration part right here is going to be what I think is interesting, like how they meet with this and the stairway, or not the stairway, but the shielding for the legs. I think will be very interesting. I haven't seen them start to add any lower brackets, but you can see them up here. They're still missing brackets. So that's part of the reason why this job is taking so long, because they still haven't finished. They're adding the stuff in below. They're scraping away the stuff up top, and then they got to bring it in there. Then they got to weld everything together. So, yeah, major job right there.
A lot of work, and it's like a full crew doing this.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people on site right now has increased drastically.
I hope they've got some welders.
Well, yeah, that was one of the things that I wanted to look at from the air. At the times where they have to do a ton of welding, we'll usually see just a whole group of them just chilling down here. But I don't really see too many.
Well, the orange generators could be used for welding, so there's those.
These?
Yeah. So you see all of those orange generators. Every single one of those could be used for welding.
But
Um,
you
but
can't. You can only do like 1 or 2 welders on each one of these, right?
yeah, but you can see like there's about
Hold up.
6 or 7 of them.
Okay, there's a few more over here.
Yeah, and then there's some on the other side on the previous image you were looking at.
Still, when they had to do the canopies, there was a ton of them down there. There was even more than this.
Yeah, well, this is just to get the preliminary stuff done. So
Right.
we haven't
So-
seen. Yeah, we haven't seen nothing yet. Yeah, there's a couple more here. So
okay, all right. So they do got a good amount of them there. They're ready, semi-ready for a party. They can have 6 guys welding at one time. So Thomas, if you have 6 or 7 guys welding at one time, based on your number of hours, how many hours is that? How many days is it to complete this?
so what was I at? Like 1,200 hours. That would still be 171 hours for those guys to do.
And what is that in days? I don't do math when I'm not at work.
That would be a week. 24 hours, 7 days a
It's
week.
not too bad.
So if you have 2 crews or more people, you can do it. But yeah, that's really optimistic.
That's
Like
assuming
there's no
that-
breaks. There's nothing. Like 100% of the time, you have these people working.
And that just really does not happen.
No.
Yeah. So
You have to have more people, more shifts, and you still have the guy who's slacking off because he doesn't know what to do. You're like, okay, you got to weld this part. Oh, okay. I was told not to do that yet. Why?
is this more structural steel for the tower on here?
It's those weird little shapes that we saw at the tent, I think. But go back actually.
Go back.
Can't tell if those are areas that they're going to weld onto that they just didn't paint. Yeah.
They look like tabs.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Tabs for these.
So one thing the flyover doesn't capture, if you zoom out real quick, let's talk about the water deluge and where that's at real quick.
Okay.
Because we're just coming up 10 minutes from now, I guess is about the end of our
13
show
minutes.
here. 13 minutes, okay. I'm off. But yeah, so we do have basically everything to the left of your mouse still exactly as it was. So
yeah,
nothing's changed
and
there.
This ditch is relatively the same too, but they've got this conduit now running underneath here, underneath of where the pipes are probably going to go.
Yep, and then actually the ditch on the right hand side, I've been watching them dig like crazy.
Right hand side.
Yeah, the right hand side, right over there. So they are actually getting pretty close to laying some pipe.
Wow.
Okay, so yeah, I wonder like how far out we are from this because it looks like they still got to do this area.
Yeah, no, that's the area that I say where they were digging in.
Oh, really?
That's probably
Okay.
that's probably already done.
Okay, gotcha.
Meaning the pipes are already buried?
No, they're just ready to lay the pipe down and then they do the launch and then they'll actually attach the whole thing.
So why
So
lay
you
the
don't
pipes
you
down
don't think there's
first?
any chance they're going to do this beforehand?
You guys see how far the mud flats the pipe goes. But no, in all seriousness, I'm hoping that they do not do the water deluge until after the orbital test flight, unless they're going to throw everybody at this thing.
And what do you say, Zach?
I agree for speed purposes, but because of past events, I personally would like now that I know it's an option to do it, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Before when they were like, oh yeah, no, it's not even necessary. That's just like something NASA wants. I was like, yeah, then why do it? You know what I mean? But now to me, this just being here at all says that it's necessary. And that kind of makes me just want them to do that before they do the flight.
One reason to do it before the flight is longevity of the systems.
Well, let's put it this way. If the booster explodes on the pad and the reason it explodes is because it vibrated itself to pieces, like that would be extremely embarrassing.
True, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Especially if you were like just about to do it. If you like made the conscious decision to say we're going to do this after this one, like to me, if the worst case scenario happens, then now you got to deal with all kinds of criticism saying, well, you knew that was going to happen and you just chose not to install the water deluge before. So I'm just like anticipating what all of the haters are going to say, and based on that, I would just install it, like, because it's just one less thing that's one less. I mean, you already have like hundreds of things that could possibly go wrong. You have like, you could just eliminate one thing, by doing this. At
It's
least
very
you don't have to worry about it vibrating itself to pieces.
Yeah,
right?
but it's very expensive, and they thought they didn't need it, and now they're going for it, which is interesting. And 39A has this system, so obviously that's the direction they are going. It's just like how much of this system will be operable by the flight. Like, will it be operable at all, or will it just be we've got some nitrogen tanks giving some pressure to some water lines, and that's about it. No pumps, nothing, just pressure.
And I mean, we have seen 31 engine tests, but obviously not a full 33. And I mean, the total percentage of thrust that was being output by the booster, I think, was like 47% ish of its max. So with that being said, I mean, saying that it did light with, you did ignite that many engines is one thing, but we still don't know what's going to happen when they throttle up, right? So, I don't know. I'm still nervous, but who knows? I mean, at the same time, I would say that I also have a lot of like trust in SpaceX. Not like my opinion really matters necessarily, but I have a lot of trust in like their engineering and all that stuff. So if they've like already done those calculations, be like, it'll be fine. Then so be it. But just based on my own observations and like seeing, past events that have happened here, it just seems like they had ideas for certain safety systems. Like, let's take the Raptor chill collection. I fully believe that they had that idea already because they did it so fast once they needed to. You know what I mean? And it was almost like, well, maybe we'll be good without it type thing, And I don't want this to turn into another one of those situations where it's like, well, maybe we'll be good without it, and then they turn out not to be. You know what I mean? Because that'll just set the program back. I would rather see a 3-month delay than a 16-month delay.
I just want to see them do this as quickly as possible and get it right. It's like, it's good enough, we can launch. Like, that's the direction. And by the way, I did a quick double check on the number calculation. You were thinking it was like 46 or 47%. The best thing happened. It's 46, but basically it's or 46%, but it's or 47% pretty much. But it's funny because it's a repeating number of 69 repeated. It popped up again
For the decimal?
Yeah, the decimal. It's
gotcha.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. I think it was 47% of total thrust, but 49% of available thrust because they didn't have two engines firing. So, this is going to be interesting to see how they proceed with this. I mean, to me, I think it looks like they're trying to do this now, other than the fact that there's no work on a water tank yet.
No, I don't think we need that water tank yet. It's just this system. It looks a lot like Slick 40, the way they've have it set up. There, I don't see pumps. I just see high pressure nitrogen gas. Those cylinders could go up to like 290 bar, which is quite a bit. That's 1 bar is 1 atmosphere of pressure. So each one of those tanks holding like almost 300 times its volume of pressure, or its volume of air is just incredible. So, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Pretty good amount of force.
Yeah,
come out of here. I mean, especially if you stage them and you're not releasing all of them at the same time. Do that. Release all of them at the same time. I mean, I guess that's a possibility. That's definitely not how the original system was intended to be designed, but that could be. It could be a temporary method of doing this until they have a big water tank. But I mean, something's better than nothing, right?
Yeah. I do want to see that done, but I want to see it done before the end of March. Because that's what I'm aiming for. I'm actually putting money down, flying out, doing the whole thing. So before we end the show, do we have any other questions?
Before you do questions, can I read off the donations and then it could be all Mauricio?
Sounds good.
Is that all right, Mauricio?
Yes, that's good with me.
Thank you, sir.
We lost you, Indian Star.
Wrong button, doggone it. Let me try that again. We want to start it off with Chrome Kiwi, who gifted an RGV aerial photography membership to somebody who was a lucky recipient of it. Ian Dempsey donated $5 and says hello. 55 Chevy guy Steve donated $20 and wanted you guys to know, he wanted to clarify the question he asked earlier. He was asking, is a hippo chiller required to fire a Raptor to have a proper propellant mixture? So we can answer that in a minute. I'll go through the rest and then you can answer that if that's cool.
Yep.
Okay. And then Ian Dempsey went ahead and joined us as an RGV flight supporter. Welcome to the team. Astro Joe, who's a member for 14 months, was super happy about being a member and wanted to exclaim and confirm that he's happy to be a member. Stephanie B. has been a member for 13 months and says, great show once again, Team RGV. Beth Garrison donated $9.99. Scat 1975, who's been a member for 5 months, was referring to something that you all were talking about and says, questions. I think there's an over a week's worth of welding, so I guess there's welding to be done on that tip of that, whatever that was, that circular thing with the metal glass looking thing with the, whatever you called it. Yeah, it was very clear, wasn't that?
Launch table, yes.
Sorry?
The launch table.
Yeah, no? Anyway. John Dopker donated $10 and says, hugs and snacks for Sunny. Rocket Profit came in with $10, says, Sunny Snacktarian, choo-choo. Jim Cavett with $2, pitching in on that snack fund. And then we have, that's it for me. I'm done. And that question I'll ask again from 55 Chevy Guy Steve asks about the hippos. Is a hippo chiller required to fire a Raptor to have the proper propellant mixture?
No. So the hippo just basically super chills the methane or liquid oxygen so you can store it in the vehicle and have more density basically. So you're getting it almost close to the freezing point where it's dense, but it's not actually freezing. It's not creating the ice for those propellants. And you only just need the liquid methane and liquid oxygen to do a static fire for, let's say, a Raptor on a test stand.
Coolio, Mauricio, all you, sir.
All right. The first question here is from John Dopker. Victoria wants to know why they're putting shielding around the table before they finish the waterfall deluge system. Wouldn't that make the plumbing harder?
The deluge system is not going to be on the table. It's going to be below the table. I don't think you want anything else up that high. It's going to be rather large and heavy when all that water's flowing through it. So it's going to be underground, and the stuff above ground doesn't really affect it.
All right. The next question here is again from John Dopker. Are the shielding plates on after, are they an afterthought, or were they always planned to be included in the OLM design?
They were always planned to be included in the OLM design.
All right. We have the next question here from Megan. Have panels for the gaps between shielding on OLM been spotted yet?
Those would be the ones I talked about on the ground on the launch pad or the landing pad.
Right.
And then the last one is Alan Lawrenson. Happy birthday, Sonny. And do you think they will remove the test pad A now that they're going to use Massey's for testing?
No, they'll leave test stand A, but they'll probably just remove the puck shucker, and then they'll go towards basically an area to static fire. So they'll have at least 2 pads to static fire at.
Ooh, look at this, Thomas.
It'd be pretty good. Ooh.
This kind of explains how many passes they're going to do. It's definitely not one.
Yeah, there's definitely fillets. We're multiplying the weeks.
Yeah, it's like at least 3, if not 4 or 5, because that's a very big wedge to fill. That probably wasn't the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a fillet, so I'm thinking that's at least half an inch thick steel. I don't have anything to compare it with, except maybe that garbage can behind it.
Where? Oh,
Yeah. Now that I'm looking at that garbage can, that might be about an inch for the steel plates. So it's even worse.
a lot. Sorry. Go ahead, Mauricio.
And that's all I have on my end. Y'all wanted to cover anything else, or are we gonna wrap it up?
I think that's all I had. I was just checking the landing pad to see if we could see those. These are. Oh, so they are T's, or are they I-beams?
That's an I-beam, and it probably is going to be what goes around the table underneath those.
Oh yeah, these are just the mounting mounting brackets for below, not the
Yeah.
actual. Okay, yeah, I was
Yeah,
hoping
so this is
we were
what hangs up. The next segments that you're talking about will hang off of.
I was hoping we were going to get a glimpse of the other ones that are laying on the ground, but I think there's stuff in the way of those, so we won't be able to see it.
Yeah, it's just right behind that black box.
Shucks. All right. Cool. Well, with that being said, I guess that is all for us this week. I definitely want to thank everybody for being here. I think this is like our third week in a row having more than 1,000 viewers in here. So shout out to everybody for all the new viewers and all of the people who've been here since the start. Appreciate all of you as well. And it's another awesome week for me being here to explain to you guys what's new at Starbase. So I will see you all next week, and I'll pass it off to Thomas.
I'm hoping for that orbital flight, so let's do it. But it's been great this week again. There's so much stuff we went over, and we're going to go over so much more again next week. So tune in then. Off to you, Mauricio.
All right. Yeah, I want to thank everybody that joined us today. And the flyover is already scheduled in the books for Thursday. So hopefully the weather cooperates. That seems to be our only opportunity right now with the limited amount of aircraft available next week. So hopefully we get it done. And also I want to thank everybody that donated, and probably going to go to sleep after the stream. I'm a little tired. I only slept about 3 hours last night. So
You've got to Starbase 3 times this week. Let's face it, you're wiped out.
And mind you, it's an hour one way for the guy, over an hour.
It's a 3 hour round trip total, but I wasn't planning on heading out there to get the shots of ship 25 at Massey's, but it was kind of like a last minute kind of thing. So
At 3 in the morning, your time, no less.
Yeah, I took off like around 4:30ish. Got there a little bit earlier and just waited for the sunrise.
And boy, are we glad you did.
Oh yeah, it was worth it. Off to you and then, sir.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll just say main engine cut off, stage separation confirmed. Loads of love to you all. See you next week. Bye.